Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. It is Thursday. It is April the 3rd, 2025. It's another Technical Alpha podcast. Glad you could join us today. Get myself situated here. There we go. There we go. Very good. Got another great show lined up for you today. We weren't here last week because we were served yaps a lot in the midst of our StarCraft. It was ironic. We had started super early in the day and we managed to somehow yap so long that we never ended up getting around to getting the podcast done. But that's okay because we've got lots to talk about, or a fair amount to talk about actually this week, because we missed out on last week's. We get to cross it up a little bit with some stuff. Of course, the biggest news of the week, bar none, is the Switch 2 event that happened yesterday. That's what we'll be spending a good chunk of time talking about. And of course, some other side news that happened in the previous week as well. But before we get started, of course, the most important question of the week, Mr. Black, how was your week?
It's been a week. That's been pretty much it. It's just been a week. Nothing particularly amazing happened. Yeah, it's just another week.
Let me get you... What is going on here? Let me get this up a little bit here.
I don't know what the hell is going on with my arm, but it is, for whatever reason, just being a dick.
Yeah, we've been having all sorts of interesting audio-related shenanigans this week. in general. It's a constant moving target with audio. Just never seems to settle. You don't touch anything and it still breaks itself. It's a miracle, really. My week was much the same. I finally got around to doing my iRacing because I got my gear, and so I've been getting into that, and it's been quite an experience. A lot of it has been changing my setup day on day to try to get comfortable and find my, the best seating position that I can, and getting around the track in the MX-5. It's been an experience. So much to learn just to set the thing up. Like one of the pitfalls, for sure, for getting into sim racing, when you're talking about like iRacing specifically, because if you're playing like Forza or GT, it's a little less sensitive to your settings per se, but iRacing's very sensitive to what inputs your software for your pedals and your wheel and everything have. And so you can have some pretty nice equipment and you can have the wrong settings and you might as well be steering with the mouse and keyboard at that point. And so, it was a big learning process to see, how the wheel communicates with the wheelbase and how all of this plays nicely together in their individual software, and then how that software talks with iRacing, and what to let the software take over and what to let iRacing take over, and kind of dial stuff in. And I can personally say that it does make a huge difference from your speed in the game when you go from having settings that are bad to better. In that when I first had it set up, my force feedback wasn't quite dialed in well, and I wasn't getting quite enough feedback in terms of not the strength of it per se, but I wasn't feeling enough of what the car was doing. And because I don't have a full motion rig, the only way I can feel what my car is doing is in the wheel. And so when I didn't have that feel, it was hard to tell if I was getting into oversteer, or if I was, if my wheels were off the ground, like if I had hit like something, when do my wheels hit the ground again? And so literally the moment that I dialed those settings in, like I went and checked and like learned more about it at the time, I immediately shaved like 2 full seconds of, like, within the first 30 minutes of changing it shaved 2 seconds off of my lap times. And so, yeah, it's been a big learning experience. It's been fun, and challenging, difficult, hard for me because I like being good at things immediately. And this is something that you can't necessarily just dive right in and be good at. And so I've had to swallow a little bit of pride, for sure, with it, in terms of changing from being used to racing on a controller in Forza and GT and whatnot, and doing all the things that you would do normally. So trail braking and whatnot. I was doing all that on a controller because when you're holding a controller, you've got your brake on the left trigger and your gas on the right. So instinctually over time, you don't notice you're doing it, but you're most of the time, you're not. People, when they're using a controller, they aren't going like all the way on the brake, off, all the way on the gas. You're blending and you don't realize it's just natural for you to do it. But my left foot, it might as well belong to another person. It might as well be a whole ass different person that we're psychically linked to, and we have a communication problem. And so feathering that brake pedal at high speed going into a corner and being able to successfully back off on it so that you can trail brake and keep your speed and not do the thing where you just brake in a straight line and then make your corner has been, that plateau has been difficult to reach, and probably the biggest point of frustration for me, because I know what I need to be doing. It's not the knowledge, it's just getting my foot to do, like, my brain is screaming at my left foot, and my left foot's like, duh, duh, just being dumb. So, but it's been fun. It's been a good time. I hope to start actually getting in and playing Destruction Derby with the Mazda MX-5, which is what the low racing is. It's not even racing. It's just Destruction Derby. And it'll be fun to see how that eventually goes. But yeah, that was mostly my week. Honestly, I was spending like hours modifying my setup at a time. Like, I had to go to Home Depot and like fucking Canadian Tire and shit, and I was picking stuff up to try to make modifications to make it work for me because I'm so fucking tall. And it's gotten to the point now where I've got like a 2x4 bolted to it in spots and shit. Like, it's just it's all done up. So it's been a week of that. Otherwise, I've been playing Satisfactory on stream. I picked that up during the last Steam sale and have been enjoying my time with that. Fox and I have been doing a lot of Satisfactory. That's what I kind of do after I race for a while, and then I have to, my feet need to break. I need to be able to raise them so they stop swelling. So I end the day with Satisfactory. And that's a fun game. It's definitely for people that might be on the spectrum, 100%. It services that kind of market, or the people that would like the redstone aspect of Minecraft. The automation side, the factory type stuff. It's basically what it is. So it scratches a bit of an itch. You can get creative with it. They're pretty lenient with things like things clipping, so it doesn't have to be perfect. So you can do some fun stuff. And so we've been having a good time with that. And that's been mostly it, really. And that's all she is. And then yesterday I did catch the Nintendo event. So I've seen it. Mr. Black didn't get a chance to see it yet, but we're going to go over the gist of it. And as we're going, I'm sure Mr. Black can search some things, and he can see the trailer, for example, for Mario Kart World. If he wants to get an idea of what it looks like, that's the big game announcement for sure from Nintendo's point of view. It was like the one thing that we knew was coming, but we hadn't really known what form it was going to take. But we did see they led with that. That was the first thing that they led with in the event. But let's talk about that. So Mr. Black, I see, has searched it now, so he'll be able to catch the trailer for it. But Mario Kart World, or Mario Kart 9, or whatever you want to call it, Super Mario Kart 9, was the first thing that they led with. The gimmick in this is that you can drive basically anywhere. So it's just all open. There is a track and whatnot, but you're also driving in between races. You're driving to the next track, apparently. And so it's an event in and of itself going in between races is what it appears to be, which is kind of a neat idea. The map is kind of laid out similar to Super Mario World on the SNES. When they do a pullout at the end of the, on the video for the trailer, you'll see that it looks like that, the map for Super Mario World on the SNES. And very interesting idea. There's some rail grinding in there. It looks like the cow from Moo Moo Farm is going to be an actual racer that you can use, and it looks like also a dolphin from I don't know what game is going to be playable, which is maybe is it the Wave Race Dolphin? Maybe could be.
Might be.
Because Echo the Dolphin wasn't Nintendo, right? Echo the Dolphin was Sega. Right. So yeah. So anyway, there's definitely some fun to be had in there. There's like wall riding and shit. There's a lot of interactable objects now on the tracks and whatnot. So they've added up upon the track interaction and mechanics as well in what seems to be fun ways. But it looks like Mario Kart. It's more Mario Kart with more mechanics. And the nice thing about how they've set it up, they're smart. This is another decade-long game. This is Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. They're going to be adding on to this bitch. And it's probably going to be in the top 10 sales for the next decade. Where they just sell it nonstop and have packs and stuff that they're going to be made available for like for free if you're in quotation marks, if you're high tier Nintendo Online subscriber, or you can buy them as DLC, things like that. So they led with that and it looks good. They also have that packaged, of course, it's a launch day title. So there will be a Switch 2, just straight up console. And then there will be a console plus Mario Kart 9 or Mario Kart World or whatever they want to call it. And so those will be your options, I think, at launch. I don't think they have any other bundles. I think those are the kind of the two options that you have, at least the ones that I was aware of. Sometimes there's like some like fringe ones, like Costco sometimes has like their own special weird fucking combo bundles, but generally speaking, that seems to be the two that they're going with. So they had that. Then they announced the Switch 2 camera. This is where things get real Nintendo, Mr. Black. And if you get a chance to watch the actual announcement thing from yesterday, you totally should. Because the amount of cringe, but the amount of totally Nintendo shit that happens around the Nintendo camera is kind of hilarious. So they're selling a webcam for all intents and purposes. And this new Switch is powered by an NVIDIA chip, which means that's where they're getting some of their frame rates and upscaling from. It's a DLSS-based upscaler, AI-related shit for that. And then also the other things that NVIDIA comes with, like noise cancellation for microphones, and then automatically cutting out around a person on camera, as we've seen NVIDIA have these options in the past year or so. And so they're using those for this purpose. So there's a webcam, and you'll be able to primarily, it's for a couple of things. One, individual games might have uses for it. Like Mario Party, like the bubble, instead of your character you're playing, is literally a live feed of your webcam with like your head cut out, on the marker, kind of a deal. Or it's also used for like, really, I don't know what to call it, but it's more or less, it's chat. It's console-wide chat, which can be just mic, or it can be mic and webcam for up to 4 people by the looks of it, maybe. Something in that neighborhood, maybe 5, I don't know. I can't remember what it looked like it was. But essentially, it's like Nintendo looked at how people are playing games right now. This is how I read the situation. They look at how people are largely playing games, especially young people. They're playing the game, they're watching a Twitch stream, they're talking to friends on Discord all at the same time. It's not uncommon for people to be doing all of that or a combination of those things and not necessarily just sitting down and playing the game. The social aspect of games has become that, right? Talking on Discord, watching a Twitch stream at the same time you're playing games. So I think Nintendo looked at that and said, what if we just offered all of that kind of a system in the ecosystem of the Switch 2? So with the webcam, you can share your video, your game that you're playing, even if it's different games from your friends, and it will move your game up to a smaller portion of your TV. And then at the bottom row is the webcam, the Switch 2 webcam output, plus their game at the same time underneath. Now, all of their games are playing back to you at PowerPoint presentation speeds. Like, you're not getting a 60 FPS feed from these outputs. But the general idea is that it gives you the sense of hanging out on the couch, playing games, doing whatever. So there are games that will support it so that you're all seeing each other at the same time in the game, but it also gives you the ability to play different games, share your screens and whatnot, and hang out that way. So this is a very Nintendo way of trying to get the communal aspect of gaming back, where I think they realize that the couch co-op thing, which they still totally promote, is just not that common anymore. It's not that frequent that kids are going to their friend's house to sit down to play games together like they would have when we were kids. It's much more they're in their own bedroom with, you know, their setup and they're playing with their friends on Discord or something in the background talking that way. So I think this is their way of trying to get into that kind of an environment. So an interesting concept. The camera is not cheap, but it's not overly expensive. I think in Canada it's probably going to cost $79 or $89 for the camera. And the image quality, mileage may vary. I mean, I'm just going to be honest. A C920 costs more money than that. And if you don't have great lighting, it's dog shit. So, you know, in this trailer, you know, they had the quality looked great, but they also had professional camera lighting on every single person. And it still didn't look that amazing. So I'm sure it's going to look pretty friggin' haggard. And as I said, you know, it's like the old concept of time to penis in games that allow you to draw. This is going to be like you're playing Mario Party with your friends and somebody wins a mini game and it's showing the celebration fucking thing. How fast before one of your bros just fucking helicopter dicks on camera? It's not going to take very long. 100% going to happen. People are going to be into the fucking, like I said, how many people are going to be on Fireball whiskey and all of a sudden the dicks are out for Harambe, just trolling the friends, teabagging in real time on Mario Party. But I mean, I dug the idea. It is a Nintendo-y version of it, but I think it is a cool-ish way to try to tap into how younger gamers are playing video games now, and the more social aspect of gaming as a hobby. They're trying to get involved in that. They obviously also have parental controls around the camera, so who it will even work with on their friends list and stuff, you'll have some control over that, which is obviously important for the mentions I just did. You know, you don't want dicks out for Harambe on, you know, when your kid is playing, you know, fucking Mario Kart online. And so there's guardrails in place. So that was an interesting addition to the list as well. We'll have to wait and see just how popular that is, how much it's used, if at all. But no, you know Nintendo, they're not afraid to go out there and just fucking try some shit and see what sticks. So we'll have to see how that all pans out. Next up, what we got? Oh, right. So they have Game Share as well. So for certain titles, not all titles, but for specific titles, if you own the game and your friend doesn't, and it's multiplayer, you can share that with your friend and you can play the game together. And it seems like that might even work online and not even necessarily like they don't have to necessarily bring your Switch to your house to be on the same network. It seemed that way. Don't quote me on that. There's obviously going to be documentation on this. But it is a form of game share where you can share it with up to X number of people so that not everyone needs to necessarily own the same multiplayer games or own the game to be able to play a game together. In conjunction with this, they also have some games that when you have the cartridge doesn't have the game on it. It acts as a license key, a physical license key, where you're just downloading the game when you've plugged it in, and then the cartridge acts as the key. Some games are on the cartridge, some are not, some are, so it's a different thing. And I feel like the game share and doing it where some games are like that is their first step towards trying to combat the secondary market, where they're like, okay, we'll let you share some games together with other people. You can have your game, but if we give you this license key, you can't, it's not transferable in the traditional way that another game is. It's closer to just raw digital. Yep. And a question I had as well with that is what if you lose your cartridge that doesn't have the game on it, but you've downloaded the game? Does it act like a digital game where it's tied to your account? Or are you fucked because your license key is the physical thing because it's not a traditional digital download? It's actually attached to that license key cartridge. So that I don't know if we have an answer to that yet. But
I
it does
mean,
feel
back
like
in
a
the
bridge.
I mean, back in the day, what happens if you took your Game Boy over to your buddy's house and you had Pokemon Red and you know you lost the Pokemon Red or it got stolen?
Oh
You
no, I
shit
know,
got stolen or you
no,
lost it. Like
yeah, no,
it's
I
gone.
get that, but in the sense that like technically the game is on your console, like as if it was a digital download. What I'm saying is
Yeah.
that if it's not on the physical cartridge, it should
I
probably
see what you're saying.
it should just be attached to your account like a digital download because you're downloading it the same way. It's just you bought the physical copy at the store, but the physical copy is just the license key. So it's a bit of a
Yeah.
weird
Yeah.
hybrid that doesn't act like the digital version in that sense, and is still susceptible to if they pull that off of the storefront. You have the key, but they've taken it off the storefront, so you can't play the game like you can with a traditional cartridge. So it just feels like they're a step in the door to full digital at some point in the future, where they're just getting closer and closer to that and trying to find ways to like get people used to the idea of just pure digital as well. I don't really have a big problem with it. It just feels like an awkward half step. I feel like they should either just commit to full digital or not, and not do this weird like half step. But I feel like maybe if you looked at Nintendo, I haven't had a chance, but Nintendo was definitely, of the three, I think Nintendo still had a relatively high ratio of physical to online sale. So maybe they feel like they can't just full send it into digital only just yet, and maybe wait for the next console. Or what they might do is do like Xbox
Or the
did
next
and release
version of the Switch.
that just that's just a downless. You have an option of a digital only Switch or whatever the fuck, and just keep getting people used to it. So game share, that's a thing. The dock now supports 4K output. And has a fan. I'm not sure what the fan is going to do, since it is basically just blowing air onto a plastic back of the case, but it's there, and I can't wait to hear how loud and obnoxious that little fan is, because that fan is going to be about that big. And if you remember back in the day on our old computers where the standard fan size was like 40 millimeter, you remember when those things spun up, sounded like a jet aircraft taking off? It'll be fun to see what those sound like on the Switch dock when that bitch gets to speeding up. But yeah, so it's a 4K output. Now, people don't get it twisted. I mean, this is not real 4K. The PlayStation 5 Pro can't even output full flat 4K in some games. And this is not as powerful as a PS5 Pro. This is like approaching a PS4 for all intents and purposes in terms of power. So can it do full 4K? Yes, in a handful of games, maybe, like limited. But generally speaking, this is like an upscale situation, which is fine. And we'll have to see just how good that upscaling is when the time comes. But it also has the ability to do 1080p 120 for games that would be able to actually pull that off. But I suspect both of those scenarios largely are going to be relying upon frame generation on the NVIDIA chip to some degree to hit those numbers. Otherwise, we'd be seeing the ability for this stuff to happen on even older consoles, which we don't, or even current consoles, which we don't. So, Adam's mic is clipping more than usual. Is it passing through to them too?
Oh, yeah. I mean, they're obviously hearing it, so something's going on. But we'll figure it out. It's all good. You sound pretty good for me because you're not really loud. But we dealt with this during the StarCraft cast today.
We dealt with this earlier. This is some. I'm actually fucking upset right now. Nothing has changed. I don't know. Anyway, I'm gonna have to figure it later. You guys are gonna have to just kind of live with it. I just won't get super loud. But we dealt with this earlier. It's bullshit. There's literally nothing clipping on this end, but the output is clipping anyway. So, yeah, so that's what we know about the output. The screen itself, they decided to not go OLED. They went with LCD again with the base version. They'll probably have an OLED version in the future, but they went LCD for this one. It does have HDR. What standard of HDR? I don't fucking know. Most LCDs don't, depending on what the panel tech is, hard to say what that HDR standard will be, but they have it, evidently. The onboard storage is 256 gigs internal, which they were very proud of because the original Switch only had 32 gigs. So they were like, it has 8 times the storage. The problem is, Nintendo, this is 2025, and 256 gigs of storage for games, especially when you're going to be selling physical copies of games that still require you to download the full game and just use the cartridge as a fucking license key, is a bit of a problem, at least in my eyes, depending on how big their games are for the Switch 2. We'll have to wait and see how much bigger they are versus Switch 1, because they're outputting bigger resolutions, which means file sizes are going to go up. So we'll have to see just how big the average Switch game is. Would I have preferred 512? Yes. 100%. And the price difference in bulk for them to have a 512 versus 256, I can't imagine is that fucking dramatic. That being said, if you want to expand it, it does have a micro SD express slot, not a regular micro SD. That won't even work. It is a micro SD express, which is a faster format of micro SD. And so you can expand that way. Just be aware that it is the express version. And so if you have old SD cards you were using for the Switch 1 or whatever, not going to work. Need to have the express format for that expansion slot. We found out what that C button is for. Like I said, it's for the chat. C for chat. Which means they were able to release new versions of controllers that basically just have the C button strapped to it, so they can resell the controller. The Pro Controller, at the very least, they added back pedals that are formed in. They're not like the magnetic slap-on ones like the Xbox and PlayStation might have. They're just built into the back of the controller as like clickable buttons. And there's only 2 of them. There's not 4 like you would get on a Pro Controller or something. It's just the 2, which is fine because I think 4 was weird. Heart cramped. It was cramped to even do 4. But new versions of the Pro Controller. That controller, the old Pro Controller, also works. So at least you can still use your old Pro Controller on the Switch 2. That's a comfort because Nintendo has historically not allowed a lot of peripherals to be cross-platform supported. So that's a bonus because I have a sneaking suspicion that Pro Controller for the Switch 2 is going to cost several dollars. Because the Pro Edition of the current one in Canada was already like $84.
Yeah.
So this one is probably going to be like $120 or something insane for this time around. Let's see. Where was I here? Right. So there are Switch 2 versions of games. Kind of like we have PS5 Pro versions of PS5 games, where there are, where they play at higher resolution, higher frame rate. They might have a couple of additions for functionality that the Switch 2 has that the Switch 1 does not have access to, and so they've made some additions. They didn't get real elaborate because I think it's a per game basis, like what they actually add to the Switch 2 versions. But what it does mean is that you have to pay for every one of them an upgrade fee to go from the Switch 1 version up. So if you own the Switch 1 version of the game and you want to play the Switch 2 version, you're going to pay, I think somewhere, from all I've looked up, I think it's between $10 and $20 depending on the game to upgrade that version of the game to whatever the Switch 2 version is. And again, per game, you'll get different perks to that. Like Civilization 7, for example, remember where there's a mouse feature? That was confirmed. The mouse thing is totally a controller thing, input. Civ 7 Switch 2 version, you can use the mouse to move the cursor around and whatever. So yeah, and there may be some that are free upgrades, but generally speaking, you're paying for a number of them, like you would with the PlayStation stuff and whatnot as well. And the Xbox has had similar stuff in the past. So it's really going to be the value proposition will be on a per person basis, being like, is this worth it to me or not? The full Switch 2 games, first party especially, I believe are $79.99 US, €89.99. I don't know what that means for Canada. Sometimes Canada is the same as the euro, even though the dollar and the euro are far separate. Like the regional pricing still ends up matching the euro. I don't know if that's going to be the case right now because our dollar is so weak. It might be the case that they have to add on top of that. If that's the case, then Canada could be looking at anywhere between $94.99 and $99.99 before tax for a standard version of a game, not the special edition, not the this comes with DLC, just the straight, flat, basic, get fucked edition of the game.
Just a plain bagel.
Just a plain bagel. And the problem with this, well, not the problem, but the thing that has some people a bit concerned is that, you know, the move to this $89.99 or $79.99 or whatever hike was started by PlayStation. You'll remember they did it with, you know, the Naughty Dog stuff and the Insomniac games for like Spider-Man and whatever. They bumped those games up in price. They were the first movers in the market, really, in doing that to major titles that people noticed. And then the sports titles, EA stuff, 2K, started to charge that higher amount for their AAA, you know, every year 2K NBA basketball edition. But a lot of people were still choosing to be lower and sticking to like the older prices, especially for digital. Now that Nintendo is doing it, people's immediate thought is, well, as soon as Nintendo does it, all bets are off. Everything is moving up. Everything is being uplifted. Indie games will get more expensive. Everything is going up 10, 15 bucks per game, because as soon as Nintendo gets in and doing it, that's like the signal to the market that green flag, go.
It's time.
It's time. So brace for that, because this will definitely be the thing that moves the needle more than anything else. Way more than PlayStation doing it or anything like that. An interesting announcement, couple of them. Elden Ring coming to the Switch 2. So people will be able to play Elden Ring. It looked pretty good, all things considered. Frame rate was a little rough. Maybe they'll have time to, you know, get that dialed in. But it didn't look bad considering it's running on the Switch 2. Then they announced, this was kind of troll. So in the trailer for this, all signs pointed to Bloodborne. Either a remaster or a Bloodborne 2, even a sequel. And everyone was like, no way. Is this it? Are we finally, but it's Switch. Why would they ever, but everyone was excited. They're mentioning blood and the talking, and you know it's a FromSoft game, and everyone was like, this is it. Our time has come. And then they said, nope. Chuck Testa. It's a brand new IP. Get fucked. It's called The Duskbloods.
Yeah.
Which is apparently a PvEVP or something in that neck of the woods. I guess kind of tangentially related to the Elden Ring multiplayer game that I can't remember the name for, that they released here as well. So they're kind of dipping their toes in the water even more with this. But it was funny because like online, there was all sorts of memes about this, obviously, because people were like so salty about it not being Bloodborne, but also excited that it was at least a new FromSoft game, right? Everyone's like mixed feelings about it. And probably the best meme, Fox saw it last night. Remember in Austin Powers, when Dr. Evil, I think it was the first one, I can't remember if it was the first or second, but when it goes up, his ship is going up in the air, and they're doing the cuts between where it's like the Navy guys talking about the Johnsons and all the other stuff, they're making the dick jokes about the whatever. I think it was during that scene where they cut to Japan, and like they were doing the it's Gojira thing or whatever, and then they had a second guy look at the camera and be like, but not really, for legal reasons, it's not good. And then like, but still, and so people were making the comparison. It's like, it's Bloodborne 2, but not really, but for legal reasons, it's not actually. And like, so that was kind of like the best meme that we saw so far for it. But you know, it looks good. FromSoft doesn't really miss, except for when they don't put out Bloodborne, which is still, just put the goddamn game out, for Christ's sake. Everyone's dying out here in these streets. But yeah, so that was an interesting thing. New announcement from FromSoft. for the Switch. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, am I crazy? Chat can correct me. Duskbloods might be a Switch 2 exclusive. It might be. I can't remember if I might be gaslighting myself into thinking that and conflating it with something else. Either way, it is a Switch 2 exclusive. There you go. So a FromSoft Switch 2 exclusive M-rated PvEVP or whatever video game is not, well, it was definitely not on my bingo card, I can tell you that much. That was nowhere on my bingo card, but we got it. Next up, let's see. Oh, I already mentioned the mouse functionality. So GameCube games are now being added to the virtual console. Like they have the Nintendo 64, they have the SNES, all that stuff. GameCube's now being added because now obviously the hardware is able to really keep up with that level of emulation. So the ones that people got excited for, obviously, that they showed off, F-Zero, the GameCube F-Zero game was up there, which got people excited but also sad because just like Bloodborne, people are like, where the fuck can we get a new F-Zero game in these streets? We've been waiting like 20 fucking years. Please, God. Nintendo said no, but you can get virtual console and go back and play the GameCube one. So people were like, okay, fine, fuck you, I'll take it, whatever the fuck, we'll play it. So they got F-Zero, and then they got, they also showed off Wind Waker, Legend of Zelda Wind Waker, and then Soul Calibur 2, which was a big fan favorite. That's the one that had Link as a playable character in there. And so people were kind of hype about that. Of course, that means that they're now
Smash
selling
Brothers.
another.
Smash Brothers Melee.
And you know it's coming if it's not already listed because they're reselling the GameCube controller for the Switch 2 with the chat button.
It's coming. Oh, it's coming.
So we'll see how that all pans out. But yeah, so that was another nifty little addition. Then this was perhaps the biggest surprise of them all, in all honesty. Hollow Knight, its sequel game Silksong, has almost become legendary for the developer not being able to lock in on a date for release. It was supposed to be out, I believe, several times at this point. Kept getting pushed back, etc., etc. People getting trolled. Of all the places for the release year to be announced, it was in a sizzle reel for the Nintendo event. It was on screen for like fucking 5 seconds, and they were like, boom, Silksong 2025 coming this year. Everyone collectively losing their shit. So that was just funny to me that of all the ways for Silksong to have a fucking, like, it's not even its own thing. It's in the midst of a sizzle reel with like fucking 17 other things, and it's like, oh, Silksong this year, and everyone was like,
I'm sure they'll have something else for it out soon.
Yeah. So people were very excited about that. Just to know the game is coming out, people were excited about it. And then what else did we have? Oh, right. So I think, and again, the chat can, I was trying to like collect this information again, but there's so much going on all at once, and people are also trying to confirm these things, and I don't know what's real and not at this point. But I think pre-orders for the Switch 2, at least through Nintendo themselves to some degree or whatever, they're trying to battle scalpers by having pre-orders for the Switch 2 go through people who have Nintendo Online subscriptions first. And specifically, I think it's for people that have it of a certain length. So a year at least on their account. And it depends on where you live. Okay, so they have some mechanisms in places to try to battle some level of scalping, but it's hard to avoid. They did this with controllers, you remember, in the past, and they're doing it again with the GameCube and the Pro 2 controller, where I think it's similar. Where before, the ones that got access to ordering those controllers were people who already had online subscriptions, so that it wasn't just people buying them and reselling them on eBay immediately. And so they're trying to do that again, at least. But I mean, it's still going to be, you're still fighting soccer moms. You're getting in fist fights with soccer moms to buy this shit. There's no two ways around it.
I mean, if I gotta fucking punch a 12-year-old kid in the fucking in the forehead to get me a Nintendo Switch 2, I'm gonna catch a case.
Times are tough.
Sometimes you gotta catch a case.
It's true. They got to be ready for it. Look, the world is hard. David Goggins, get hard.
Get hard. Stay hard.
Stay hard.
Stay hard, bro. Not get hard. You got to stay hard,
Stay
man.
hard.
Stay hard, man. Stay on that Viagra. Stay hard.
That's right. Stay hard. So they're trying. They're trying to combat it, but it is what it is. And that was the majority of it. I mean, there were some other things, but I would say those are probably the main highlights. There was not. I mean, the surprises were the FromSoft exclusive. Obviously, that's weird. I would never have guessed that was coming. The Silk Song announcement is definitely interesting. And then the camera thing would not have been something that I would have guessed. But as far as everything else, it was pretty par for the course. There are some expectations around battery life that it might be worse than the Switch 1. That worries me a bit. I'll be very interested to see what the battery life testing is like when this thing gets in the hands of people for long term. Because the Switch 1 battery life, if you remember, was fucking goddamn atrocious. That shit was horrid. So if it's worse, you might just as well leave that bitch in the dock and play that on the TV, because you'll be in bed for 45 minutes and that console is going to be dead. But the final bit that shocked, I think, everyone the most, and we talked about this a little bit on one of the StarCraft casts, which apparently are all going to sound like smashed asshole thanks to this fucking audio issue this week, is the price everywhere. The sticker shock that was immediately trending on socials everywhere was the price of the Switch. And it's not like it's going to stop people from buying it, obviously, but there's sticker shock for sure, because people are used to the Nintendo console being the cheapest, like I was saying earlier. That's just the way she goes. No, I think people are going to gauge how expensive everything else is going to get based on, how expensive this console is. And so when it came out, and in the States, I don't know what it is in the States, $549 or $500 or something like that, $500 flat or something in that neighborhood. I can't remember what it is in the US. But in Canada, I think it equates to about $629. And I think the bundle with Mario Kart is $699 Canadian. And I think it would be similar probably in euros. You can bet that it will be likely similar in euros. Okay, so it's $450 without the bundle in the States, $500 with Mario Kart, at least for now, in the States. Whatever supply they have there right now would have, whatever Nintendo managed to get into the market ahead of time, should be untouched by tariffs. But the next round that ships out, the price might very well go up. And there's nothing to be done about that. Even if, somebody asked, somebody asked an analyst that's in the Japanese market, what would it be possible for Nintendo to set up a factory in the US to try to keep prices lower and whatnot? And well, yes, anything is possible. You could. It would take so long to do. And then even if they had it where they were building them in the US, the parts and stuff are coming from Vietnam and surrounding Asian countries that are also tariffed. So the parts themselves are getting, there's no real way around that. And by the time they got all that supply chain figured out and a factory built and everything else, 10 years, whatever, to get that all in line and a lot of money, there could be a totally different government in that lifts the shit, and it was a waste of time. It was a waste of time and energy anyway. So, yeah, the first batch, kind of like the graphics cards, first batch, AMD got them in before tariffs started kicking in. So they were lower. Mr. Black got in just before. He got his cheaper. And the next round after, stuff might start, creeping up because of it. So that's something to keep in mind as well. But that was, people's concerns around price. But what it tells you is that the next Xbox and PlayStation buckle the fuck up. Not even a normal seatbelt. We're talking a sim racing 4-point harness. Because that shit is going to hit whiplash you ain't never experienced in your entire life. If the Switch 2 is selling for $629 or whatever Canadian, that next PlayStation, $999 all
Oh yeah,
day.
we're gonna
long.
be pushing $1,000.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're gonna be pushing a G.
I can't even comprehend that. I can't comprehend walking into a store and seeing the base price, no added a game, no nothing, and I see the price tag $9.99. I can't
Yeah.
even like.
I probably won't even own the next generation of console. I'll just get a Nintendo Switch too. And it's not necessarily because of the price. I just don't play console games at all.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
zero. And my current PlayStation 5 I use for my media. So like Netflix and all that other shit. So I can just keep using that. So I mean, we'll see. But yeah. Well, that's cool. I'm excited for the Nintendo Switch, and it gets released I think in June, right?
Yeah. So here's an interesting comparison point, just to keep in mind. This does feel like we're kind of in the SNES era, and when people talk about the cost of an individual game and console price, they will often point at the SNES because it was a very expensive console, and the games were very expensive. So the games or the consoles themselves sold for in 1991, $199, which is the equivalent to $460. So about the cost that they're selling the Switch 2 today. So relevant, comparison point. The games, if I'm not mistaken, were also very expensive. Like almost $100 per game. Yeah. In 1990, the average. Oh no, that's NES. So the NES games even averaged $89 in 2013 money, which means $100 really in today's money. So we're kind of getting into the 90s pricing model. It's just that everyone has been used to. Well, this is the way I think this is part of it. Like back in the 90s and the 80s, right? This is a very interesting framing that I heard like a couple weeks ago, and then somebody brought up the same framing on the stream last night. In the 80s and 90s, the necessities in life were relatively inexpensive, but the luxuries were expensive. And now today, the luxuries are relatively inexpensive, but the necessities are expensive. And now we seem to be moving into a thing where the necessities are expensive and the luxuries are expensive.
Everything's getting expensive, bro.
So it's going to be getting it on both ends. Whereas like in the 80s, obviously with the oil crisis as a point of contention there for a while, that was still a time where a single income for a home, for a mortgage and whatnot. So the housing, food costs, stuff like that, compared to the luxury items, so when boomers look at us and we've got like a new phone every 2 years and we've got well, it's because they've made it cheap. I mean, we're paying like fucking $30 a month for the highest end phone you can get your hands on in Canada. So in the States, they're basically paying you to walk around with a fucking phone. The luxuries have gotten very inexpensive because production got pushed into the Asian countries where labor and everything was like dirt cheap. That's how it happened. It was no longer production at home, it was production abroad. And we really hit that in the 90s and 80s where the crossover point happened. And so now people are experiencing that their luxuries and their necessities are expensive. And so for the first time, this is going to be, I think this is where some of the sticker shock comes from. It's just like this, the concept we've talked about before, Mr. Black, here on the podcast, where when it comes to escapism, people will put themselves in crippling debt sometimes for escapism. This console and the next round of consoles will be interesting to see what the impact is on sales, as we're getting to a point where, like, I don't remember a time where the cost of anything for in gaming was trending on social media. Like, it might have been expensive, and some people would have talked about it, like, holy shit, fucking my god, like 2K cost $89 or something. But when Nintendo got in, now there's like obvious people are like, whoa, fuck me. And we know it's going to sell because it's Nintendo, and there's nowhere else for you to go for Nintendo games. But I think this does feel like, because it's happening all at once, this is after the markets have shifted big. So it'll be very, 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 very interesting. But everyone's going to own that shit. We're still fighting soccer moms. Credit card debt's going to be an all-time high. It already is. It's going to go higher. It's going to get even higher. But yeah, very, expensive enough to get people's attention. So it was just an interesting point. Other than that, that's about it. I know you're going to own one, at least one, because one's going to be upstairs. You're going to need a second one because you're never going to be able to get your hands on it otherwise.
I'm probably just going to get the one, but at least for a while, and then I'll probably get another one when the version 2 will come out of it. So I'll just
God damn, I cannot, dude, something has gone horribly. I'm going to be spending, like you, hours of my life trying to fix something that was never a fucking problem. You are like dead. I have you maxed dead quiet on OBS compared to me in places. And I'm sounding fucked, even though earlier I recorded myself and sent it to you using the same chain and it sounds clean and fine. I'm going to fucking lose my goddamn. Anyway, Mr. Black, do me a favor. While I cool down.
Sellout?
Give us a little sellout for the people at home.
Oh, we got a little patreon.com/LagTV. You guys are keeping us alive, keeping us moving and grooving, allowing us to get ourselves a Nintendo Switch 2 when it comes out. So thank you very much. Head on over there to patreon.com/LagTV. We promise there won't be any tariffs on the subscription. But everybody's dollar might go to shit. So in roundabout way, it's probably going to cost you a little bit more, but we do appreciate it. We also have NordVPN. This month is the month, guys. Go and check them out. Go sign up. Get yourself that 2-year subscription. Use our link. That is nordvpn.com/OTT. Super easy to remember. The code will automatically be applied when you go to our link, which is OTT. You can get a 2-year subscription, massive discount, plus 4 extra months, bringing down your average monthly cost even more. It's less than half a cup of coffee a month at Starbucks. The best in the game. They've been at it for over 11 years, still going strong. They've been supporting us for quite some time. And our current agreement is coming up at the end of the month. So now's the time for you guys to rally, get all the subscriptions, let them know y'all are still loving the service. Stay safe, stay anonymous on the internet, watch different regions of Netflix and other streaming services at the click of a button. Use it while you travel, while you're at home. Have up to 10 simultaneous devices, 30-day money-back guarantee. Don't like it for any reason, get your money back. And they have a huge amount of different services through Nord as well. So go check them out, grab the subscription, and when you do, take a screenshot and send in a StarCraft replay as well, and we will guaranteed cast your game on top of that. So yeah, big thank you to Nord, and a big thanks to everybody that's been picking up those subscriptions.
And now it's time for
movies and TV.
Oh shit, wait, I lied. We did that quick. We did that early, but that's okay. I'm just going to do a quick little rundown for quick news, Mr. Black.
While you do that, I'm getting some water.
Yep,
I'm getting some water. So you rapid fire.
Yep. Quick news. This is some of the stuff that we missed out on last week. So Split Fiction is a big success for Joseph Ferris and crew as it pulled down 1 million sales in the first 48 hours. Congrats goes out to that team. They're crushing it. That's also going to be a Switch 2 game on launch. They've got that ready to go. Bethesda is reportedly set to announce their Oblivion remake in the next few weeks and release it not long after. Saber CCO Tim Willits insists that KOTOR remake is still in active development. My copium personally is peaking right now. I don't know if I believe them, to be honest. Persona 4 RE was registered in Japan. Well, it said this week, but technically this is last week. What does that mean? Well, Persona 3 RE was registered 3 months before Persona 3 Reload was announced. And so Persona 4 seems to be getting its remake as well. Microsoft seems to have accidentally leaked an in-development UI update that would allow players to see all of the games they have installed through Steam, Epic Game Store, and more in one of their blog posts that was titled Opening a Billion Doors with Xbox. Get your tinfoil hats out. You could probably come up with a whole bunch of reasons why that might be the case. Game Informer, this was a big surprise. Last week, apparently is saved as the print magazine is coming back, including reportedly the entire original staff, who has already started posting reviews and articles, making up for the time lost since the sudden closure last year. Gunzilla is the outfit who bought the rights. It's a new game developer with names like Neil Blomkamp at the helm as the chief creative officer and co-founder. They're currently developing a 150-player battle royale game called Off Grid. So yeah, shoutouts to Game Informer being saved. We'll see how long it lasts, but this is kind of the only way that they were going to be able to survive, was to see who was going to come in and buy them up and let them just kind of run as efficiently as they could, and not necessarily, to some degree, not necessarily be chasing clickbait as other places have had to do over time. Nintendo Switch 2 pre-orders start April 2nd, at least according to Best Buy. I don't know if that's been confirmed now that the Nintendo event has
April
gone
9th.
through. Is it April 9th?
April 9th.
Yeah, so April 2nd was the, at least last week, was because Best Buy had accidentally the whole thing. But that might have been because there was an assumption that perhaps during the Nintendo event they were going to open up the pre-orders, but apparently not. And that's it. That's the quick fire news, which means now we can actually get on to movies and TV. And the only thing I have here, although there could be other stuff, is Disney Plus is getting a new Power Rangers series. Showrunners are set to be Jonathan Steinberg and Dan Schatz, who are the fine folks, or one of the two of them are from Percy Jackson and the Olympians. Yay, Power Rangers. I had forgotten that Disney has access to the Power Rangers.
I haven't, because Kai watches Power Rangers all the time, so I see Power Rangers all the time.
He's a Power Rangers
He's into
kid.
it now. Yeah, he's into it now. Just got into it like a month ago, so.
Which one did he start with? Which one grabbed his attention that he started watching?
It's the new ones. I don't even know the name. Yeah. They got a lot. Yeah, it's the same, but it's not the same.
Yeah,
it's Power Rangers.
It's Power Rangers. I mean, there's been a lot
of Power Rangers.
Of Power Rangers. I mean, that shit it never stopped. It's like Pokemon. They got a new series like damn near yearly. Shit's crazy.
Yep.
Other than that, yes, I will at least mention it. I remember talking about this ages ago when they first announced it, but the Liam Neeson Naked Gun remake got the trailer today. So the Leslie Nielsen film, that's like holy ground, and I am actually shocked that they were even willing to do it. But I believe I said at the time, and I think that stands true now, Liam Neeson has some comedy chops. He's got the timing. He can be dry. He's very dry. I mean, it's nature of where he comes
part
from.
Part of
And so I think it could work, but it's going to feel really weird seeing a Naked Gun film and it's not Leslie Nielsen. It's just it's going to be a very weird. It's kind of hard to match Leslie Nielsen's dry, deadpan delivery on stuff, so it'll be fun to see how Liam. It's not that I don't have faith in him. It's just a high bar. I mean, Leslie Nielsen's a fucking high bar to pass. So, all I hope is that this doesn't mean that they're flirting with the idea of like redoing like Airplane. That would be catastrophic. Don't fucking do Airplane again. I'm already scared about Naked Gun, but there you go. I'll have to watch the trailer. I haven't seen it yet. Apparently released today, I guess. I'll definitely watch it to see what it looks like, but fingers crossed on that one. Other than that, I don't know if I have anything that I have even watched here in the last while. There's not been a lot of new releases that I've got a chance to check out. Have you finished any of your garbage, trailer trash?
Yeah. I mean, we finished Temptation Island like over a week ago.
Okay.
We did watch Adolescence. And that was fire.
Right. Yeah. You told me that you got to check in on that. So what were your thoughts on Adolescence? You said it was, you said you thought it was really good.
I thought it was fire. I thought the whole show was absolute unadulterated flames.
I mean, you had to appreciate it from a filming perspective because every episode
that's
one
what
take,
I liked.
Raw.
It was one take. I was just blown away by it. I thought the acting was really well done. I thought I was a little sketch in the beginning with the little boy.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, ooh, I don't know if I'm buying this. And then he
turned it on there in episode 2.
He turned it on. Yeah. It was great. Yeah, I just thought it was fantastic. I don't want to spoil anything about the show.
No.
It's only 4 episodes. It's a one-shot take for each episode, and it was so genius how they filmed shit. I remember at the end of episode 2 where the camera basically goes from out of the place, I won't say, and then goes out into the street and then goes across and then goes down to another area.
And there's handoffs. I was trying to think about how they did it. Ideas where I think I
watched the documentary.
Okay, so I didn't watch it yet. So let me guess. So they might have done 2-seater helicopter, and then they did audio pipe in to fill in to overpower the helicopter audio until landing. Did minor voiceover to do the split until they could hand it off to the next cameraman on the ground, or if it was a helicopter, they get out and just keep walking. So it felt like that.
It was all by hand until they got out on the road. And then when they got on the road, by hand, they attached it to a drone. And then
that was my other thought.
Yeah, the drone flew over, and they kept the drone. And then when it got over there, then another guy by hand
took it off,
grabbed it again, and it was just all seamless, like how they did it. And it was like, it's wild. I was like, I was blown away. I remember at the end when the credits rolled at the very end of the episode, I just like looked at Kayla and I was like, that was fucking fire.
Oh, it's crazy.
I was like, wow. What a piece of film. Like, it was just the whole thing. And it's like the scenes are intense because it's like, and I loved how they showed the boring parts that would never not be in regular film. It would be edited and cut out. So like, somebody would be at a vending machine just getting something in the vending machine. And then you got another character just kind of waiting for them to finish at the vending machine. And there's no dialogue. It's just like a normal person. And you normally don't see that sort of stuff.
No.
And you only see the important shit. But here you see everything. And that's what I enjoyed about it. It was like you got to sit with these people. And it was like everything was happening in real time. Like, there'd be different time jumps for each episode, essentially. But during the episode, there was never any time jumps. You just watched from minute 1 to the minute 65 or whatever. It was just like these guys just doing. It was almost like watching a play, like a theater, but in film. It was really well done, and it was a good message and a story, and it was like I thought it was great, and it's a drama. It's a family drama essentially. I enjoyed it. I wish there was more, but I'm at the same time happy there isn't. It's like I'm okay with what we got, and then that's just that. So it's one of the better Netflix shows I've watched ever.
Absolutely,
it was great.
Yeah, you said the thing that I said to Em when I was sitting there. We were talking about it. Is the way I was describing like how I was feeling about it. It was like the beauty of this format is where it's uncut. Is that all of the stuff that would normally be cuts now become part of the scene. And so you have to be, when you're storyboarding this, you really have to be cognizant of what is everyone doing throughout this whole thing to time this thing all out. And then what it does is it allows scenes that have so if there's no cuts and you have a really emotional thing that's happening, you can shoot it differently because you're compacting everything into this 30 to 45 second thing. And then a cut happens where there is an assumed time leap and you have to fill in what has likely happened in between point A and point B. In this, something hyper emotional happens. And then there are 2 or 3 or 4 people in the scene and you're sitting in it. You're sitting in the moment itself.
Yes.
For extended, almost uncomfortable.
Awkwardly uncomfortable, yes.
Your brain is thinking, where's the cut coming? Because you're programmed to watching something that would have a cut at this moment, but there is no cut. So you're forced to sit in it, and it adds a totally different dynamic
emotion to
it. Yeah. That's hard to describe. You have to kind of watch it to understand fully what we're talking about. If you haven't seen it already, is it really does change how the writing happens, and it changes how the characters have to interact with one another for periods of time where there is no dialogue.
Yeah.
Honest to God, I have to give shout outs to absolutely everyone that's on the set, but I have to imagine that for the director and the cameraman, the cameraman who has an earpiece from the director, because the amount of stuff that the cameraman has to remember.
Oh, and
all of his
multiple
marks.
cameramen. So
Yes.
I watched the stuff. They are handing this camera. They're going upstairs and they're like passing the camera up. Another guy is grabbing it.
It's all on a gimbal, right?
Yeah, and they're like it takes a fucking army of people to basically do all this. There's so many people, and the father, which I thought was fantastic.
He played
like
Al
his
Capone
last episode.
In what? He played Al Capone in, I can't remember the show, but I knew him before. And I knew as soon as I saw him, I was like, oh, this man's about to fucking crush it.
He crushed it. And he's the creator and director.
No
he
shot,
did it
really?
all.
I didn't know that.
He fucking wrote the shit.
Oh,
he
that's
fucking
fire.
created. He's the fucking man.
Oh, it was
So
Boardwalk
just like-
Empire. He was Al Capone for Boardwalk Empire.
Fire. That dude crushed. I think he was the best actor out of all of them. It just felt so real. But yeah, no, it was great. And the young kid, he's not little, but he's probably 13 or something.
Well, I think
he crushed.
Well, there was a time jump to some degree, I think, at some point where they change actors.
Well, he apparently the kid, he never acted in his life, so he just came out, and they loved him because he looked like an innocent kid. Did they let him
ad lib a little bit then?
No, he followed script. He said it got to the point where he had to memorize
you would
everyone's
lines because you have to know
the entire script, not just his stuff, because it's a play essentially. You have to treat it like you're on Broadway or something, right?
He did a great job.
Yeah, and apparently they did. I think it was either the first episode or I think it was the first episode. They did it in the first take. So they did the whole thing.
God.
So they were practicing a whole bunch. Like they would practice the stuff over and over and over and over. Even like in the kids in the schools and stuff, like having all these young kids like doing all the right things. Like
don't look at the camera.
Exactly. Do not look at the camera, because as soon as you do it, you're fucked. It's dead, right? But yeah, I was just super impressed with the show. I thought it was great. I hope they get more stuff greenlit, so that we can see this guy create more stuff.
What a format.
Yeah, obviously, like it happened like in the UK and stuff.
Yes.
So
it was very
obviously
specifically speaking to a problem in the UK right now with knife violence
and stuff
kids.
Like that. Yeah. So and what the thing it was a story about a kid. I won't spoil anything, but it's a situation that he gets into. But like it also showed what I liked about it, and usually these types of shows, it's all about the kid. But this time it was about the parents and the family and sort of what they have to deal with when, your child is being accused of a certain thing, of murder. And you get to see the weight of how the family feels. Yeah. And then you got to see how the kid is like on the other side in when he's on trial or he's, waiting. Yeah, it's just a great.
My favorite thing about it in that respect was how he smartly gave this family two children. They gave him an older daughter and the younger boy, and they used the daughter as the contrast to the younger boy, because the younger daughter is fine, doesn't get in any trouble, everything is whatever. And the same parents with the same the same set of circumstances, and then the contrast of the boy, and then as a way to discuss how no matter how hard you try, there are so many ways in which younger people are influenced outside of the family unit now that are impossible to police all around the clock as a parent, that has knock-on effects that you can't always account for, where people will see a child do something and immediately say they're bad parents. And so they used, in the context of the story, they're using the daughter as a playoff point. And they actually, in part, you'll remember they
talk
have
about it.
A scene where they talk about exactly that. And so I thought it was great. In the UK, it caught some heat because the white folk didn't like that it was a white kid. As a white person, go fuck yourself. There's lots of asshole white kids that do lots of crazy shit. We see it here in the West all the time. It's not, this is race agnostic. The idea
Yeah.
is that online interactions dramatically impact the youth, girls, boys, otherwise, and in very specific ways. And this was very specific to what they're seeing in the UK, the realities of it, and as a way to highlight the parental aspect that often gets ignored because typically the parents are just immediately made the bad, because sometimes they are bad parents.
And they
That's-
are
it's
sometimes
true.
bad parents.
Sometimes.
I would say
But
there's probably more cases of bad parenting than not,
Yes.
but there are still, you can't just paint it with a brush, and seeing how
Yes.
this family operated and their
Yeah.
morals and how they,
Yeah.
just a regular working class family that, you
Yeah.
know, and this thing happened, and they're even confused about what's going on, and they're questioning, are they good parents, and what could we have done, and stuff, and it's a really great dramatic.
Highly recommend.
it's
Highly,
fantastic.
if only for just to see and appreciate the fact that they do one take for the full episode, just to appreciate that. Like I really like the first exposure to a really great one take long cut that we had was back with the first season of True Detective, where it was a very busy, crazy, hectic scene there where he's doing the drug deal with the guys.
Yes,
and
going in and out of the
everything is
house
going
and
on,
shit
going
was
in and out of the
wild,
houses, helicopters, the whole 9 fucking yards.
That was fire.
And that was a
fire.
fire fucking scene. And so to be able to, that was the first thing I thought of when Em said that she read that this was all one take. I was like, this is an hour long. So I asked her, it was like, search if this is like hidden takes, where they can like blend. She was like, nah, this is all one take. And I was like, well, now I have to. I can't not watch this. I have to watch this. And it turned out to be fucking fire. So definitely recommend watching it. Especially if you're a parent, I think you'll appreciate the aspects that they're trying to touch on there and empathize with the difficulties of modern day parenting that didn't exist, 20 years ago. And how that's a moving target now that all parents have to contend with. And the difficulties that come with it. So definitely worth giving a call. It's Adolescence, for those who didn't hear us in the chat. Adolescence. It's on Netflix.
Adolescence.
And definitely worth checking out, no doubt. So there's that. So Em and I did watch that. I'd forgotten. We did watch that, and that was, you had heard me talking about it, I think, on stream.
Now we're watching, we started Severance. So we're on episode 3.
Em and I also started some Severance. We only watched, I think we only had time, because this is a busy week for Em. I think we watched 2 episodes. Em's a little wishy-washy on it because for her, I think some of it is, Severances are really like, if English is your second language.
Yeah, it's like a cerebral type.
It's very like, there's a lot going on here that if you don't have contextual reference points, not just from language, but like culturally, it's not going to be easy to
it's not gonna
bridge
hit the same. The gap.
Like you're just seeing some weird
shit.
It's kind of like when she tries to watch Wayne's World, she's not going to understand because like cultural connection is so detached that it doesn't even make sense. Yeah. So a little bit difficult for her. But we started watching it, and for me, I watched it. I was like, I can see where this might go, and I can see how this would be a really interesting kind of a fun show to watch, no doubt. Interesting concept for sure. What Em did find funny was that her and her coworkers were joking, not within the context of Severance, but just joking about how nice it would be to be able to just separate your brain and do like clone yourself and then like work and then be like, and coincidentally I was like, well, funny you should say that.
Yeah, there's a show that is quite literally
quite literally that
cool
concept. Yeah. So what do you think about the first couple episodes?
I enjoyed it. I think it's cool. Kayla's picking up on a lot more shit than I am. Like I'm like, and I think what it is I'm overthinking. Like it's like as I'm watching it, I'm trying to solve exactly what's going on and why. I'm kind of trying to play detective, which is fun in itself. But I'm missing
for the trees kind of situation.
Exactly. Yeah. But I mean, we're enjoying it. We're just we're gonna be on episode 3. We'll probably watch episode 3 tonight. I almost decided to rewatch Lost. I was like, man, I think I'm ready. It's I was like, I think I'm fucking ready. But I decided to go with Severance. So
I I think that's a good choice. I think Lost was good, but I feel like unless you were a hyper fan, which I know you were a big fan of Lost, so it would be different for you.
I enjoyed it.
I don't think I could go back and watch Lost now. That's kind of like a time capsule. It's kind of like trying to go back and watching Survivor, even though it's still happening right now. Like I turned on one of the more recent Survivors just for fun. I got like 20 minutes in. I was like, man, I can't.
No, I can't.
I can't do. But back then, dude, you and I were literally hype beasts for
Survivor was fire.
Survivor.
Yeah, it's a great show.
Shoutouts to Richard for walking around naked on television. By the way, back in the first season, I think that was the first season, right? Richard,
it was
gay dude just walking around naked.
The gay dude walking around his dick swinging, didn't give a fuck. I mean, he helped blow Survivor up. I mean, there were like some very key people that like was like, whoa, what is this? It's like the first real reality TV show. You know what I mean? Like
that's Bruckheimer, wasn't it? Was that Jerry Bruckheimer?
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then
Didn't
it spawned
he also do
the
Lost?
reality TV. I don't know.
Was Bruckheimer?
Maybe. The host Jeff must have made so much goddamn
it was a variety.
money.
Okay, well the directors are different. I don't know who the producers were, but the directors for Lost were Variety: Jack Bender, Stephen Williams, and J.J. Abrams.
Okay, there you go.
Who produced Lost? Bad Robot. Okay, so it was produced by ABC Studios, Bad Robot, and Grass Skirt Productions. Whose thing is Bad Robot? Shit, they're still going now. Bad Robot is still a thing now.
J.J. Abrams. I know
that is
J.J.
JJ's. That's what I thought. Yeah, that's his. That's his. Yeah, his gig. Yeah. So yeah. Anyway, yeah. But yeah, that was that back. But I can't go back and watch some of that stuff now. It's tough. It's fun. It is fun sometimes to go back and watch really old TV shows and movies to some degree because you can get a real appreciation for how dramatically different pacing is now versus back then. For a number of reasons. One, it was never meant for binge consumption like content is now. So, you go back and watch an older show, watching it back to back to back to back to back, and it doesn't even make sense in that format anymore because this was meant to be watched like
once or twice a week. Yeah, they'd have like a live voting, and then there'd be like a show, and then there'd be, and then that was that. But now it's just like you pump out fucking, 6 episodes at 3-4 episodes, then you got to wait a week, you get another episode dump, and then you wait one more week, and then you get the last episode and a reunion. Yeah, it's very different.
Yeah, it's a wildly different.
And our attention spans are very different now too, right? So.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So it's like watching really old movies where like they're 3 hours long or whatever, and it's the pacing is just like.
Yeah.
Fucking, it's like nails on a chalkboard type stuff. Other than that, so you did watch, just as the last thing there, you did watch and finish Temptation Island.
Oh yeah.
What's the rating out of 10 on this season of Temptation Island?
If I'm being like unbiased, I would say 8.5.
Okay.
8.5, close to 9.
So that's
a Temptation. Dude, it's so much better than Love Is Blind. I mean, dude, this season
the concept
absolutely
is way spicier in general than Love Is Blind.
And Love Is Blind, this last Love Is Blind season was ass, right? So, this is definitely worth a watch. It's an absolute gong show. Like, I mean, there is all kinds of fucking going on, bro. It's wild.
There's no Montoya, but there's a lot of fucking going on.
Oh, yeah, there is no Montoya, but there's some wild shit that goes on. So yeah, it's definitely worth a watch. But yeah, we're gonna do Severance, and then after that, we'll figure out some other trashy TV to watch.
All right. Well, now it's time to move on to
tech support.
Patreon.com/LagTV is the place to go if you want to financially support the podcast each and every month. Get a couple of things for $5 or more. For $5 or more specifically, you can get a chance to ask us questions here on the podcast. I post up a post called Tech Support, believe it or not. And you can ask us questions. We give you answers in the time that we have. And then every week, I forget how to navigate Patreon's ever updating fucking app to find the thing. There we go. And we give you answers in the time that we have. Let's see what we got this week. Oh boy. See, we started something bad last week when we went so deep on that Mary Fuck Kill because we got a follow-up.
Oh, okay. All right. I didn't even check the comment section of the last one either. So
people were in agreement in general.
Were they?
On that
With
last
me?
one. Yeah. Well, just in general
Okay.
on like, yeah, I think we, you know, we did well. Roran says it's a Mary Fuck Kill. It's in, I'm assuming, Prime again on all of these. Jennifer Aniston, Jennifer Lopez, and well, Jennifer Lawrence, all-time Jennifer list in this list. Jennifer Aniston, Jennifer Lopez, Jennifer Lawrence.
Do you want me to
Prime.
go first, or do you want?
Or do you want to go first? Yeah, you go ahead.
All right,
you go ahead.
I'm marrying Jennifer Lawrence.
Again.
Flat out. That's easy.
Yeah.
She's getting married.
That's sound the same here.
I'm smashing J-Lo, and I'm killing Jennifer Aniston.
That's
bye.
That's way easier than last week. Got to be honest. Or last podcast.
That's a simple one. Ain't nobody want to marry J-Lo. I'm just gonna keep it a buck. We saw how that fucking goes. Ain't nobody want to marry J-Lo.
No.
You know, Jennifer Lawrence, get the girl next door vibe going. You know what I'm saying? She seems like she'd just be a fun time to hang out.
I also just find her more attractive than Jennifer Aniston, even in her prime. Jennifer Aniston was never that attractive to me. She's not ugly, clearly, but like she was never like, when I heard people talking so, you know, highly, it's kind of like you know, Jennifer Aniston, people talking about Jennifer Aniston is kind of the same to me as people talking about Julia Roberts. I never quite got the Julia Roberts thing. Not unattractive, clearly, but I never fully understood the Julia Roberts adoration from that perspective. Similar with Jennifer Aniston. And if you talk to guys, I feel like it's probably because the women find those two women really attractive, but it's not quite, doesn't quite play the same to men. Might be part of it. But like, you know, people will always compare like compare Julia Roberts to like what's her name from oh my god, my brain is fucked. I haven't eaten in a long time, so now my brain is super fucked. Anne Hathaway. People will always compare Anne Hathaway and Julia, and Anne Hathaway is literally orders of magnitude for me.
Yeah. No. I mean, listen. Jennifer Aniston's dead. Okay? In this lineup, she gotta go.
Not literally, but
well, not literally, but you know, she gotta go.
In this context.
In this specific scenario. I do like me some Jennifer Aniston. Like I don't mind watching her stuff, but between J-Lo and Jennifer Lawrence?
No, I mean, come on.
I'm sorry, bro. No.
It's unfair. Jedi Master Grouse asks, which tinfoil hat conspiracy do you sort of believe in? What's got your Joe Rogan senses tingling, Mr. Black?
Say that again? My what?
What tinfoil hat conspiracy do you sort of believe in? And I just added, what gets your Joe Rogan senses tingling? What gets your hello freak bitches senses tingling?
I'm really truly not one of these conspiracy theory people. I truly I don't know.
But to like any of them you look at and you're like, at least you look at it and you go, well, it would be fun.
I mean, the absolute closest thing that I could go to would be the moon landing. That's the closest thing that I could be, you know, if you know, I believe it happened.
Yeah.
But there is some pretty compelling arguments that I've heard that as to why it didn't actually happen and it was staged.
Right.
Like you know, the whole Stanley Kubrick sort of in a back studio lot somewhere doing propaganda for, the United States of America,
in the race against the Russians.
In a race against the Russians, right?
Yeah.
Again, I think the moon landing actually happened. But that's probably the closest thing. Like, if there was enough evidence or there was more credible people that would say no, it didn't actually happen, I could
push you over the edge.
I could push me over the edge. Joe Rogan can't push me over the edge, although I think Joe Rogan believes that it happened. I don't know at this point.
I don't, but God only knows.
But at the same time, that's probably one where, if somebody whispered into my ear on my deathbed and said, you can't say this to anybody, but it didn't actually happen. We faked the whole thing. I'd go, oh, I kind of knew it. I kind of knew it, motherfuckers. God damn. But yeah, that's the closest thing I got, bro.
Man, tinfoil hat conspiracies. I'm trying to think of I don't pay that close attention to a lot of to the point where I don't know how many I could pull out of a hat in terms of even mentioning.
I just find so many of them so over the top, flat earthers and stuff. There's just certain ones that I'm just guys, you know what I mean? You're so on another. Now, if you told me aliens,
yeah,
you know what I mean? That's probably the other closest thing that I could come to, where it's our planet being.
Here we go. Here we go. What's his name? Here we go. Here's the closest one I've got, I think, and it is related to aliens to a degree, but not necessarily aliens, but perhaps alien craft. Is what's his name? Coincidentally, he was on Joe Rogan's podcast at some point, but it took him a while because he doesn't really do interviews anymore. Bob Lazar.
Yeah.
So the Bob Lazar tinfoil hat conspiracy is probably the closest.
That's a good one.
It's probably the closest.
That's a good one. I've watched that.
Is that it's really hard because of the nature of Area 51. The beauty of it, as far as it being fun to kind of, is that you're just never gonna fucking. You're
just never gonna know, right?
Because we do know that they do test aircraft there,
of course.
Which is why
they
alien
can't
aircraft.
Tell you. And he was saying some he was saying some shit that kind of made sense too, but it was so detailed that it's man, did this guy really fucking see some shit? It's how do you even come up with this? And then they were talking about those drones or whatever the fuck they have, where they're kind of jumping, shooting around at
you're talking
crazy
about
speeds, right?
The
Tic Tacs, right?
Yeah.
And it was sort of what Lazar was describing, when he was talking about, and this was before this stuff even became public, before this Tic Tac shit, his stuff that he was talking about and the movements and stuff. It was before. I'm holy fuck. Does this guy? But then again, I'm asking. I think to myself, if this is real, don't you think they would have killed this dude already? How is this guy even?
Part of his story is that they have been harassing and basically been, but that's which is his story for why he eventually went public was as a protectionary measure, right?
Yeah, it's hey, if you kill me, then now everybody knows that hey, this shit's real. Yeah.
So
yeah, I mean, yeah, you know what? That's better than my pick. I only picked the moon one because that's probably the one that I'll go with. Is the alien technology.
Bobby Lazar.
Yeah, man. Do I believe that aliens are among us and they're fucking, they're doing their thing and playing? I don't think so. But for me to think that there has never been another either species or something that happened before we were here or something that came to this planet. Who knows, right? Who knows?
It's an easy one to buy into a little bit, even as a fun fucking thing, right? It's just kind of fun to think about. Yeah. Jedi has a follow-up, says vanilla Coke or cherry Coke? Vanilla Coke, bro. Let's be
vanilla
serious.
Coke. Come on, bro. Don't even give me cherry Coke. I don't even want to taste cherry Coke. What the fuck is that shit?
That just sounds like scuffed Dr. Pepper.
Seriously, and cherry Coke, hell no. Vanilla Coke all day. Vanilla Coke is goated. God. That shit's
when that shit first came out, I had to I was constantly asking mom to be picking me up vanilla Coke, and it was so popular. There was Pokemon cards. You had to start jumping between stores to find vanilla Coke. Shit was that crazy. It was wild.
Oh, it's
But
fire.
yeah,
And
vanilla
still,
Coke
when
all
it
day.
comes, like when vanilla Coke, you can buy them in like the 12 cans and stuff.
Yeah.
It's
You
never
pick
here
it
all the
up.
time. Bro, I pick it up every time. I'm like, yes. And now they've got like vanilla Coke Zero, where it's like no calories as well. And give me all this. Just give me everything.
Fuck me up. Let's see. Oh, Juminator said, I watched a video about a dishwasher needing to be connected on a mobile app and Wi-Fi in order to use the rinse cycle. Any personal anecdotes of this kind of thing for either of you? What are your thoughts on the trend of everything needed to connect to Wi-Fi and have an app? I fucking hate it. It's bullshit. It's full on capital R retarded. I fucking hate it. It's super dumb. The idea that everything needs to have a connection to just do some simple shit drives me nuts. All it is a way to collect any and all
Data.
information. And I don't mean in terms of it's got a microphone listening to you.
No.
But how often are you running your washing machine?
That's
what
right.
cycles are you using on your washing machine? How dirty is a sensor sensing the shit in the washing machine? All this information, it's just a way. And then when it breaks down, it's usually that shit that goes first. And then you have a non-functioning one, not because of the mechanical parts, but because some fucking weirdo ass shit with the communication for Wi-Fi, the Internet of Things is all fucked up. And then it's an easy, because they're unprotected 99.9% of the time. It is the easiest inroad for people to actually gain access to your home network is through that shit. They just hop on through your fucking smart fridge and then they're on your router. Easy peasy. So it's fucking dumb. I hate it. It shouldn't happen. And I actively avoid it when I can. I mean, my washer and dryer, it's like, do you want to check its maintenance and its report? No, actually I don't.
No, I'm good.
I'll use it until it stops cleaning my shit, and then I'll worry about it then. No sooner. I don't need to have the shit connected. Now, the bigger problem is they'll start saying, well, if you want a mechanic to come out and fix it, you got to have that shit hooked up so that they can come and fucking, read this shit like electronics in your car. Shut the fuck up. It's a goddamn washing machine, for fuck's sake. Come
Seriously.
on, don't be. It's dumb. I'm assuming that's
I
also
echo
your
the same
take.
thing.
Yeah.
No, that's so my take. I hate it.
Oh, this is rough. Zonix. It's another fuck, marry, kill. It's not women this time. Movies,
dudes.
TV shows, YouTube videos.
Okay, movies, TV shows, YouTube videos.
Yes.
Fuck, that's actually tougher than it.
That is tough.
I'm gonna be honest, man. I am. Fuck. And TV shows is like my reality TV shows too, right? So it's all kind of. You know what, man? I'm gonna say it. I'm killing movies. I'm killing movies. And the reason why I'm killing movies is if you were to ask me 15, 20 years ago, I would never have said that. Number one,
but we didn't have the series format
we
that we
have,
do now.
Correct. Like TV shows, the writing, the production, the everything, the it's just way better than what it used to be. Is it as good as some great movies? No, but they're two totally different platforms. TV shows, you can watch tons of them. There's much more content. And let us not forget, movies as a whole have just gone downhill. They just have. Yeah, there's some amazing film that come out every year. I get it. But the quality of shit. Listen, if I can go ahead and destroy seeing Bad Boys 17 or fucking, whatever other
Star Wars
episode 92, and they're all starring Ray, and fucking woke Disney. I'm good, bro. I'm good. I'm killing movies. I hate to say it because I love movies. I love film, but it's got to die. So that's dead. Oh boy. Damn, bro. I'm going to be honest, man. I think I'm marrying YouTube and I am fucking TV shows because a TV show is like a good one night stand. We can smash, we can have a good time. I go to sleep. All is great. Okay. Do I want to marry TV shows and no, YouTube is just a thing where it's a vast information on so many different things. And if I don't want to watch certain things, I don't need to. If I want to deep dive into certain topics, I can deep dive. I can use it as an escapism for just stupid, dumb comedy shit. shorts, fucking informative stuff. I just feel like for the longer, greater picture, I'm going to marry YouTube, and you can still get TV show experiences on YouTube as well. So, and then for, TV shows, it's like a little Netflix and chill, just have an edible, sit down, watch some trashy TV and go to sleep. I'm not trying to marry that. I'm not trying to be addicted to TV. I'm just trying to have a good time once in a while.
Yeah.
There's my answer.
I think I'm also killing movies. I'm torn as to which one I'm marrying.
Yeah.
I can make an argument for both pretty easily. Like a lot of the YouTube content that I take in, I could probably live without. It wouldn't change my life. But because the thing about fucking is that, if we're just talking about, it's not like a one and done. Just occasionally dipping back in. I feel like I could occasionally dip into YouTube and get just as much out of YouTube as I could. And then, when Em and I, this is how I think about it. When Em and I sit down to watch some shit together, we're watching series. We're not watching a lot of movies. We're typically watching series and TV shows. Well, TV shows in quotation marks, because we're not really watching TV shows. And so, and series, short series for me have kind of superseded movies because it allows for more character development, story development, and the budgets have gotten big enough that even though they might not have the exact fidelity of like a 3-hour movie, they get so fucking close, I don't know if I care. Like the difference between the two. Like, is it dope to go see Dune and have my tits blown off in the theater? You're goddamn right.
Yes.
But can I get 80% of Dune on a series on Netflix and probably not care about the back 20% if it means I get more story, character development, et cetera, et cetera? Exactly. Yeah, that's 100% correct. So I can make a case for either for the same reasons you could, where it's like there's a lot of informative stuff on YouTube. There's a lot of stuff that I consume, quite frequently. But what YouTube just outright doesn't have enough of is that series-like stuff. It's not conducive to that. Are there creators that do it? Yes, but not very frequently because it's not profitable. Profitable is 1 minute to 15 minutes on average of random bullshit that's usually just ketamine-fueled fucking like sensory overload for the majority of YouTube videos. Is that everything? No. There are long-form things that I watch that do quite well, but they're also from creators that put out a video once a month or once every 3 months, because that kind of content for a single creator to create takes a really fucking long time to put together. So, you know what? I'll just to be different a little bit, and I talked myself into it. I'm marrying the TV shows or series, and I'm fucking YouTube.
Okay.
And I think I'll go with that. But it's true. Movies, man, movies have to be special. We talked about this before. For me to go to a theater, it's got to be a theater movie. And I have to like,
I used to go every week pretty much. I was in a movie theater at least twice a month, minimal. Sometimes every week. Now I'm there once every 2 months, and it's usually to watch a movie with Kai. I'm not even like, I have a really good setup here at home, so I can watch film here. But even I don't even use that the way, I'm just, number one, too, it's just like, it's a time thing, too. It's like, I ain't got to, at the end of the day, man, like, I just want to, like, lay in bed with the wifey and watch a show and go the fuck to sleep. Like, I want to almost half turn my brain off. Like, I don't need to go see Schindler's List. No. You know what I mean? It's like, it's too much.
No, not in a theater. No, definitely not. No. It's true. Sour Apple asks, if you have 1 month to coach someone to play StarCraft 2, what rank can your student get to by the end of the month, assuming that your student has 0 previous StarCraft experience, is in his 20s, and can play 6 hours a day? It's a very oddly specific question. But what do you think you're getting? 1 month, 6 hours a day, no previous experience, but they also don't have boomer brain like us yet.
Platinum.
I think that's what I would say too. The first month, I think platinum makes sense. Because if you're going, part of the beauty of having no previous experience is you don't have bad habits formed yet. And so you can literally, like, your first habits formed are good habits out of the gate. So it is a time to learn, but at least what you're learning is the good habits up front, so you're not wasting time having to break old habits to then build new habits. So I agree. I think platinum makes sense. I think platinum's probably a good target.
It's
to
like
hit.
like high gold minimal, but I think
Yeah.
we could eke out a platinum for sure, because as long as you get the mechanics down, which you probably would by week 2, like the basic mechanics where you're not really thinking about, every single thing, you're just kind of doing
Yeah.
it. And then at that point it's build order. And if you can just get certain build orders down, like in certain leagues, like you're just going to smash. Even if your micro isn't all that great, it's just timing. And I could at least, train somebody to do reasonably well in that aspect.
Yeah, I feel like especially with I think with any of the races, there are, for platinum level, like you were saying, there's probably 2 or 3 builds for each that you can do blind without even scouting the other player, and if you do them really well, it just doesn't matter because you're hitting those so good that it takes a certain skill level on the other side to scout that out and know how to handle it to be able to beat you. So like, yeah, I think platinum is probably a pretty safe bet for sure. Marky Mark asks, which miscasting of an actor took you completely out of a movie? That's a good question. I don't know if it's gonna be hard for me to think of it, but
the first thing that came to my mind was the recent one, since you brought up Dune, where it was
oh, I know I got a fever, and
I got a fever.
The only prescription is more cowbell.
What's his name again? Fucking
I can never Christopher Walken.
Christopher Walken. That took me out because I was so into the film and I was so lost in it. And then when he showed up, I said, "What the fuck, Christopher Walken?" And he sounded like Christopher Walken. Like he didn't even, he only can do him.
Yeah.
Yeah, he only can sound like Christopher Walken. And I'm sure that there's way better case. It's not like he did a bad job. Like it's not like, oh my God. And he wasn't even in the film long.
It's just the nature
it's just
of
like,
Christopher
whoa!
Walken.
Yeah, it was just like, what the fuck? Christopher Walken. What? So yeah, I that's just like the first thing that came to my mind. So I'm just gonna say that.
You know what? That's a great pick. This one's gonna be a bit weird. Well, not weird, but it might be weird in the sense that the knee-jerk reaction might be that I wasn't already pulled out of the movie by the nature of the movie to begin with. It was The Rock in Fast and the Furious.
Oh, okay.
The moment, because most of the people up to that point that were involved in the Fast and the Furious, generally speaking, were not
family.
The Rock, right?
Yeah.
The Rock is, The Rock to me, first of all, is The Rock. He's not Dwayne fucking Johnson. It's the fucking Rock. And when he entered into the Fast and Furious, he had gotten to a point where he was an A-lister for these kind of action movies, commanding a lot of money, commanding a lot of screen time, et cetera, not allowed to lose a fight on screen, et cetera, whatever the fuck. So when he entered into this, and it became more about the fact that this is now like a movie that has The Rock in it, it pulled me out, because the only characters really back in the originals when they were real young too, Vin Diesel, did he do Fast and the Furious before Riddick? I feel like that might have come first. But I mean,
no,
the only movies...
I think he did. That's a good question, because I know at one point he did another Riddick, but he only did another Riddick because the Fast and the Furious Tokyo Drift, was it the third one that he wasn't? He
wasn't. Well, he was only in.
He
at
had
the
a
very
cameo
end or whatever.
at the very end.
Yeah.
So he agreed to be in there as a cameo if they greenlit the next Riddick movie.
Right.
So they promised him the rights for the Riddick and the ability to greenlight it. So that way he showed up in Tokyo Drift. Yeah. So that they could, get more money in the box office, because once you have Vin Diesel in your movie, then it is what it is. Yeah. Yeah.
And back then, especially, I mean, he was pulling pretty good numbers. And the Riddick movies are pretty good movies too. Like, they're not bad, but they're good. Bad. They're decent action movies. And coincidentally, they also had some of the early examples of really good video game tie-ins. Like the Chronicles of Riddick video games were actually fucking good video games. But yeah, I would say The Rock, because everyone else was kind of like semi-known to not known at all. And they felt like nobody really felt like they were like dramatically above notoriety over the other per se.
Then The Rock came in and said,
and
hey,
The Rock
what's up?
came in, it was like, I'm the fucking Rock. And he played The Rock.
Yeah.
And like, I was like, well, this is just, and now we're going to the moon in Fast and the Furious. And it's just like, I can't even take this shit seriously anymore. So I would say that's probably one that I would think of that's not, necessarily like a serious film that somebody pulled me out. Like you were saying, Walken, I agree, was another one for me because he's Christopher Walken. What the fuck is he thinking? He's Christopher Walken. Not his fault. It's just the nature of the beast. I'm trying to think if there's any other like decent examples of that. Because I know there's plenty that that can happen in, and sometimes it's just the actor, and it's because it's usually actors
they're so
that can
well
only
known
play
that
themselves,
certain
or
things,
they're super well known.
Yeah.
So like if Jason Momoa shows up in a movie, I'm just seeing Aquaman at this point because he plays Jason Momoa in every movie that he's in. He doesn't play different characters. Jason Momoa plays Jason Momoa.
It's kind of impressive because when he first came out, he was the dude in Game of Thrones. He was the fucking
Khal Drogo or whatever.
Khal Drogo or whatever it is.
Yeah.
And he was very different. Like in that,
well, he only had to say 4 lines in the entire show, which also helped.
That is true. That is very true. Yeah. And then when after that, when he became like, he started getting notoriety, then it just became Jason Momoa. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's kind of like Henry Cavill now, right? I just think Superman.
Yes.
But I think, and or The Witcher. But I think he's a little more versatile. So like I feel like he can blend in a little bit more than some of these other guys. But you're right, The Rock. Oh yeah, The Rock is just The Rock. You see The Rock and it's just like, okay,
that's rough. That's rough.
No. All right, yeah, I get it.
But you know who's done, coincidentally, who's done a really good job, and I think it's because he's trying to make a point to actually just be an actor now, is
Dave Bautista.
Dave Bautista.
Yeah.
Dave Bautista does a much better job of, you can tell it's Dave Bautista.
He respects the craft, though. I think he really...
Yeah, he wants to be considered. He's said it before. He's really interested in people considering him to be a legitimate and decent to good actor. So he puts a lot of effort into that so that when he's playing these roles, he's not just playing Dave Bautista. He's playing a character instead. He wants to be like a character actor and not necessarily... big bruiser guy that goes in and 6'5", 240 pounds.
He's still campaigning to get Gears of War. Like he is still campaigning. He's still going at Netflix. Like, guys, come on. I think if they gave him Gears and he was the star, and they got like that Frank Drillo guy and a couple of other
I think that does well.
action. Oh, bro, I think it would do great. I think it would do fantastic. I think Dave Bautista would eat it up too.
Yeah. I really appreciate Dave. I mean, I appreciate how hard he tries, and you can tell that he's trying. And the nice thing about it is that if you were to go back, and it would be fun to do this in another few years, like if you give him another 5 years, it'd be fun to go back, and then you could pick movies throughout his timeline, and you could watch him get demonstrably better as he goes from movie to movie to movie to movie. And that's kind of a unique experience that you don't get to see very frequently in that regard. Not that there aren't other actors that obviously improved as time goes on, but they were like actors to start, where this guy got in real late in the game and was a fucking wrestler, and then you get to see his progression is kind of a neat thing. But yeah, other than that, I think that's probably it. Is that The Rock just pulls me right the fuck out. It's gotten to the point that if The Rock is in the movie, I just don't even watch it. I can't even.
I mean, it's to the point now where when I see a Rock post, I just like. I roll my
Cringe.
eyes. I don't even follow him. I don't think anymore on most social media. It just got old. The shtick. It just comes off so unauthentic. Like it just is selling something all.
He can't stop, dude.
The time.
He can't turn that shit off.
And it's like, dude, I get it, man. Make your money. Like I'm not hating on that, but like it's number one this, number one that, number one. And
Black Adam was the wake up call.
Yeah. You could tell that fucking hurt his ego bad, bro. He was just, oh man. I can't imagine the conversations that he's had behind the scenes and the blame he put on, other people and shit like that. But that movie was just ass, and he was not good in it.
Yeah. Pulsating, ripe, developing titties. The classic has returned. Asks. I know you're both grown-ass men, but would you ever travel to Japan together, just you two for a week, one last boys' trip before Adam becomes a dad? Would a donation goal be needed to hit to make that happen? Listen, Jeff's a dad. If I went to Japan without my wife, she'd kill me. She'd actually fucking kill me. I mean, she's struggling to get me to go on this honeymoon, let alone something like that. I would die. Would it be dope to do that? I'm sure the future, the way that we are, we're going to go on a trip at some point, regardless, it will happen. But like before then, nah, bro. Do you know how expensive that is to fucking get on a plane to go to Japan for a week right now? I'm still paying. If we're doing a donation goal, it's to pay off this fucking honeymoon. It ain't going to Japan. We got to get this honeymoon paid for. But yeah, I mean, it'd be dope to do traveling in the future, and I'm sure we will. But for now, no. And right now, Japan is like, don't even go there right now. They are so upset with fucking people traveling over there right now, and I don't blame them. North Americans been doing some weird shit in Japan. Just it is scary how disrespectful fucking North American travelers can be in foreign countries. It's fucking wild, bro. Just absolutely insane. Well, what's his face? That fucking streamer dude is now likely facing like upwards of almost a decade of prison time in South Korea.
I heard about that. Yeah, he just did some dumb shit. Fucked around and found out.
Oh, bad fuck around and found out.
Listen, if there's one thing that you don't do when you're traveling anywhere, not even just Japan,
don't disrespect the culture.
You don't
bro.
Disrespect the culture. It's just dumb. Like, why? You know what I mean? If you can't hold in your ignorance for a week, you know, even if you don't believe in how they live their lives and the things they do, you're visiting their country. You're the visitor. Bro. Yes, you have to. There's a level, and if you don't want to show the respect, then don't go. Because, like, you're only creating problems for yourself, and you're not going to enjoy your time there. People are going to fucking hate you. You're going to give Westerners an even worse of an image, right? Like, you know, do your research and find out the do's and don'ts before you travel to a country you've never been to before. Yes. And it can literally save your life.
Yes.
Like, straight up, man. Some people don't fuck around, bro. They do not fuck around. That
was like, what's her name? The WNBA player taking weed to Russia and finding out.
It's like, what are you doing?
Leave the weed at home. You that addicted? You need to fucking have a little peace in between games. Yeah. Like, you're on the road in Russia. Just get out alive. What are you
next thing you know, she's fucking crying, begging the fucking the government to like somehow get her out of fucking Russia.
They had to trade her. Do you know who they traded her for?
For fucking straight up like fucking mafia. Yes,
no.
Bro.
The Nicolas Cage movie, Lord of War. That character.
Yes,
that's him. They traded her for the Lord of War.
That's here. I'm gonna say it. I would have let her sit in that Russian jail. I'd be like, listen, I feel for you. You know, I don't agree with 10 years to have a little bit of fucking weed vape or something, but there ain't no way in hell we trading the
Lord of War.
The Lord of War. All right, because I mean, bruh, that's just what a scamaz that was. Who did that trade? Like, what the fuck?
Talk about a Donald Trump worst trade deal of all time kind of a situation, bro. The Lord of War for a WNBA player? What are we doing?
They wanted to get high in fucking Russia?
Brought weed into Russia? Like, what are we doing?
It's like, I feel for you. Like, don't get it twisted. But my goodness, we trading you for a warlord? Literal Lord of War? Like, God only knows what this guy has done. You don't even want to know what this guy has done.
The literal most infamous black market arms dealer in the history of mankind. And we're trading that for a W.
Yo, the fucking Russians might have been like, oh my God, yes. We got one. We're getting the Lord of War out of there.
Do you think when they sat there and they were like, who do you think we can get for a WNBA player? Do you think that in the war room they were like, I wonder. Yeah. It's like, what's the worst they could say? No, let's just ask them. Let's just ask them for the Lord of War. Let's just see.
I mean, you know, how bad do you want your WNBA player back?
What's the worst that could happen?
She can hold out for another 8 or 9 years here in jail, or you can give us the Lord of War, and we'll take care of the Lord of War. Don't worry about it. We'll be safe in prison over here.
Bro, that could have been LeBron fucking James over there on weed charges, and I would have said, too bad, LeBron.
No, the NBA would have been like, that motherfucker makes us too much money. Give him the Lord, the Lord of War, and all of his associates. Get LeBron out of Russia. But LeBron ain't going to Russia with no fucking weed paint pens.
No, he ain't dumb enough to do that shit in the first place.
Oh, fuck no, bro. He got too much shit to lose, man.
When I heard that news, I just remember when I picked up my phone and I remember I turned it on and that was like the first headline I saw and I put my phone down and I said, nah, that's
probably
it for
like,
the
what
day. That's it for the day. I'm done. I can't.
That's it, bro.
That ain't real. I thought I was reading. I thought it was like an Onion article. I was like, oh, that's got to be a joke. Like that shit's a parody. No.
But
that shit
Rodman,
was real as fuck.
Rodman would be over. Rodman would be smoking weed with the fucking Russian government with Putin, bro. Rodman, that guy must have seen some shit.
Can you imagine?
No.
Can you imagine what he has seen in North Korea, bro?
Already the life that he lived in North America,
was
right,
insane.
and just traveling around the world as Dennis Rodman. Okay.
Insane.
Now he plays nice with superpower dictator crazy motherfuckers that are some of the most dangerous, wild, powerful people on the planet, and this dude has full access. They treat him like he's the royalty. Fucking like royalty. It's like It's like what the fuck? What does this guy do? Like he must know so much shit and seen so much crazy shit.
Speculation, Mr. Black. How many children does Dennis Rodman have in North Korea right now?
Oh, he's got at least 10. Minimum.
Do you think there's a bunch of like 6'2" Koreans, half black Koreans?
I remember I saw some sort of interview that Rodman was doing, and he's very careful with what he says because people poke him all the time for obvious reasons. Yeah. But I remember he alluded that when he was with Putin, I think he said when he was with Putin, Putin had all kinds of fucking high-end Russian chicks,
bro.
like just fucking, and he was like, he said something, I mean, I don't want to give the wrong information, but he said something about the amount of women
just
that
endless.
Putin has around him. He said, bro, you don't even want to know the type. He was insinuating that chilling out with Putin is a whole nother. It's a whole smother hippie.
You're bareback riding bears with no shirt on in the fucking in the winter.
Bro, I mean, it's crazy. Him in North Korea, like with him and Kim Jong-un is like the amount of shit. I can't imagine.
More speculation. Do you think there is a non-zero chance that Rodman was not originally? It's just, I mean, like Kim Jong-un is just a fan of basketball. That's how that started.
Yes.
Like originally.
Yes.
And Rodman was crazy enough to be like, fuck it, I'll go to North Korea. Because it's Dennis Rodman and he does whatever the fuck he wants, like doing, cocaine off of Carmen Electra's ass for like 5 years.
Nobody is going to fuck with Dennis Rodman. Can you imagine? No. Can you imagine fucking around with Dennis Rodman? That motherfucker could make 3-4 different calls to 4 different nations and have you taken care of so fast. Who's fucking around with Dennis Rodman?
Do you think Dennis Rodman has the access to North Korea's nuclear launch codes?
He might. He might at this point. No, Dennis Rodman, I feel like Dennis Rodman is like a CIA operative that like was working for the US government and then just decided, you know what? I kind of fucks with all these people. Fuck you guys. And what are you going to do about it? I'm boys with the boys now. Why else would somebody sign up to do this crazy shit? Like,
do you think, that it was that had happened like serendipitously, right? Like Kim Jong-un likes basketball. Dennis Rodman, only one on earth that's like, because he was a fan of the Bulls, right? So it's like, okay, and he's the only one that's going.
You ain't saying Michael Jordan doing that shit. That motherfucker would be like, what the fuck?
No. But do you think that, even though that happened unintentionally, do you think that he is at this point insider information to the U.S. government?
No, I don't.
Do you think he's staying tight-lipped? You think he's real with the boys?
Yes, I do. And if anything, I believe that he may have been probed and put
into positions, and then he just said, you know what? No, fuck this, man. These guys are my boys. I went over there, fucked a couple bitches with Putin. I'm over with Kim Jong-un. I got 10 North Korean babies just showing up there. Bro, I've got the most powerful people on my fucking phone. And I can go to all different parts of the world and just be royalty, like just straight up. And it's Dennis Rodman. So, I don't think Dennis Rodman is smart enough to do all of that shit and stay alive doing it. I think that motherfucker went over there and said, you know what, these motherfuckers, I fucks with these guys. These guys party like me, and I can get and do whatever I want. Who knows? Bro. Maybe he is. Maybe he is in with the government and he's getting all this information. Who knows? But I do know one thing. That guy has seen some shit.
The stories,
and he knows
bro.
Some shit that ain't nobody else seen. And
we
knows.
Need to pray that before that man goes out on a ketamine overdose, that he passes on some of this information, because it will make the greatest documentary of all time.
Oh my God. Could you imagine a Netflix special? Dennis Rodman tells all.
First of all, they'd need 9 seasons, because the man has done so much shit. They'd need 9 goddamn seasons just to get through it all.
They just greenlit 9 seasons. Show us even started yet. Shit's gonna be running for 7 years, boys.
Dude shows up with a tome of Dennis Rodman stories at Netflix headquarters. They say, "So, don't even need to see it.
Yeah.
Give me
How much money you want, Dennis? How much money you want? Dude, yes, I would be there for it. That shit would be watched
immediately. Oh my God, dude. It might be the greatest documentary of all time. It might literally be the greatest documentary of all time. I mean, he's Dennis Rodman. Like, he's just a weird. He's not fake. He's
dude.
A weird, and he's
just
weird.
Authentically himself. Yeah, he owns it. He just owns it.
Yes.
He's just like, I'm Dennis Rodman.
He's like, I know I'm fucked up, but fuck it.
I gotta dye my hair to stand out. I wear fishnets sometimes. I had a foursome with Kim Jong-un and 2 Koreans. It was fantastic.
Can you imagine having a 3 or 4-some alongside Kim Jong-un? That's the craziest fucking imagery I've ever fucking
That'd be nuts,
imagined.
bro. That'd be nuts. Can you imagine smashing and you look over and there's Kim Jong-un just fucking railing chicks? Like, what the fuck? Bro, what a life.
I'd trip. I could be stone cold sober. And it would be like, it'd be like, I'm clearly high right now. Like, this is not happening. Clearly, just in a North Korean bathhouse, I look left, and there's 300 pounds of Kim Jong-un fucking 3 inches deep in a fucking North Korean woman, and I'm like,
oh my God, bro. What I can't even visualize it, but who knows what goes on, bro? Like, I can't imagine. Even just like doing cocaine with Kim Jong-un or some shit. Bro, like just fucking snorting a line. Like, cause Dennis Rodman ain't going over there and he's sober. Like, they gotta be doing something, right? Like,
he
there's gotta be some
leaves
crazy
the US
partying.
high and he comes home high. There's no sober part at any point.
Oh my God, bro.
Oh,
I'm here
shit,
for
it'd be crazy.
Shit.
We need that fucking documentary so bad, bro. He got to get that out on his deathbed. He got to just let the people know.
Well, you better, because you're gonna die if you even say something anyway, right? Like, at this point, then these guys gotta trust him. Like, these people aren't stupid people. These are these people don't fuck around, bro.
What?
You can't even leak the smallest of shit. Like,
do you know that
they're watching everything?
Do you know there's a non-zero chance that Dennis Rodman, Kim Jong-un, and Vladimir Putin had a 6-way in the same room at the same time? Do you know there is a non-zero chance that not only did Dennis Rodman look left and see Kim Jong-un 3 inches into something, but then looked right and saw Vladimir Putin getting busy?
Oh my God,
that's just crazy.
It's wild to think about.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Fucking hell.
Man. He's living his best life, bro. He's living his absolute best life. Can't say that motherfucker didn't live. I mean, he had a life.
Dude,
and he
has
is
lived
living
more lives than anyone else. Arguably ever. That shit is crazy.
Crazy
word.
stuff.
Let's see. David asks, this topic might come up during the podcast. It did, but with Nintendo Switch 2 games being expensive as they are, do you think that it's okay to just start pirating them? And additionally, what are your thoughts on pirating movies and TV shows? Here's my general stance on this shit in general. Do I think that pirating has ever really put a dent in anyone's pocketbook in the business at all? Not noticeably, no. Because the people who pirate are typically the ones who were never going to buy the thing in the first place. Otherwise, they'd just buy it. I think if you actually ran numbers on those who had the money to spend and were considering purchasing it, but then decided not to because pirating is probably fucking minuscule. The people who are pirating are the ones who just flat out were never going to buy it in the first place. That's always been my stance. Do I think that makes it okay to pirate? Not necessarily. No. Do I think it's okay for companies to egregiously gouge customers? Also, no. I think both sides are doing fucked up things to both sides to some degree. But beyond that, like it is what it is. That is my stance on pirating. If people were going to pirate, it's likely because they were never going to buy the thing in the first place. Personally, when I like something, I buy the fuck out of it. They're making it hard now. I got to be honest. They're making it fucking difficult. I used to be able to like more easily go buy physical media and shit for things, and they're making it more and more difficult to really like have a collection of media related things these days. Let alone keep it, because when they remove it, then it's removed from your own collection. So it's become this kind of a mess. But generally, that's always been my stance is, back in the day, we'll remember this, Napster, the whole thing, was a big deal, trying to keep up with music sharing, them talking about how the whole industry was collapsing. Meanwhile, then you see documentaries like the one with the Backstreet Boys where those guys were making like $3 and the dude was making like a bajillion fucking
crazy.
dollars. So I think it's mostly horse shit. I don't think that it really impacted people that heavily, and usually the artists are getting fucked at the end of the day. And when you talk to music artists especially, the vast majority of them that I've ever heard when discussing this topic, they just want people to listen to their music. If they aren't going to buy it, at least they listen to my music, is the stance that a lot of artists actually take. It's more about the people, because they know that their fans are going to buy tickets to go to concerts. They're going to do all this other, buy their merchandise and shit like that. They're not as worried about that stuff. It's the people that are puppeting the fucking, the talent typically. That's where their dollars, they're afraid of it. And as you all know, yachts are expensive and they've got to get in.
Yachts are very expensive.
On that yacht. But what's your stance on it?
My stance is, do I use ad block? Yeah, I use ad block.
Oh, that shit's like a virus at this point. If you don't, you're just getting fucked.
Yeah. Do I have I downloaded movies and TV shows that I can't access on, either regions or fucking whatever? Do I use my NordVPN to mask my IP to have access to stuff that I'm in theory not supposed to have until I'm traveling to said? Yes. Yes to all the above. But sort of like what Adam said, if there's something that I want, I support it and I buy it, It's the same thing with movies. There are just certain actors I will go to the theater and I will just buy that movie ticket and I'll go watch. And then there are other movies that I'm like, hey, if I can stream something on TV, then I'll wait for that or whatever. So yeah, do I think it's inherently a good thing? No, I mean, you should be paying for, some people put in work. But I think most people download content and or bypass certain things. And everybody has their own reasons. So, I'm not going to like sit here and promote, pirating.
Of course not.
Because, as a whole, it's not good.
Yeah.
And it does negatively affect hardworking people. One way or another, whether it's their second super yacht or somebody else, somebody's time and effort went into it. But also there is a time and place in which I think it is, I don't want to necessarily say acceptable, but where it's just a part of It's just a part of.
I think a really good example was, and I don't remember the exact quote, but this was from Gabe Newell, the old Gaben from Steam, who said, something along the lines of the video game industry doesn't have a pirating problem, they have a service problem, in the sense that if you're providing a good service, people won't pirate shit. If you remove the friction points for people to buy or own things that they want to buy and own, they will typically buy and own those things. But if you make it, the more friction, the more things that you put in front of them to make it more difficult to accrue, the more likely they are to pirate it to get around all this shit in the first place. Even though you might have had a buying customer sitting in front of you, you've successfully cock-blocked them with bunch of bullshit to the point where they just go the other way instead. I think a great example of this is sports in Canada, where we have sports is split amongst all of the major TV providers. This is partially a government thing, partially a problem in Canada, because everything in Canada is basically a triopoly. Everything is threes, like 3 major banks, 3 major ISPs, 3 major fucking whatever the fuck. And so in order to see even like all of your local sports or like Canadian sports, you still have to basically have 2 different fucking ISPs, so like a Rogers and a Bell. Plus, you've got to have, like, the NBA pass or whatever the fuck as well to be able to catch other games.
It's brutal.
So you've got, like,
it's brutal.
You're just making it so fucking hard. And so a bunch of people just stream sports stuff because, like, I just want to watch the games and I'm willing to pay, but I'm not going to pay for, like, fucking 7 different things in 5 different regions to be able to fucking consume this content. Is just too stupid. So it's not that people don't want to. It's I think, like Gabe said, it's not a piracy problem. It's a service problem. You just,
that's right.
And many of these barriers don't need to be there. They're just there for, some perceived, we make more money if
And
scenario.
I'm not cheap. Like, I have the YouTube, ad-free subscription thing. I pay like
I got YouTube
fucking $17 a month or whatever. I find value in that, right? I don't have to watch ads. I can still support the people that are making the content. I can stream the music now instead of having to, buy all these albums. I can just listen to the YouTube music stuff. Like, I still do my best, but like, I'm going to be honest. When Game of Thrones comes on, I'll buy HBO and then I'll cancel HBO. But like, dude, if there's a great show that like was out a long time ago or whatever, and I can fucking stream it somewhere, I'll just fucking stream it on a website or something and just watch the content. It is what it is. So I try and do the best I can. If like you said, if it's value, and I'll pay for it. You know what I mean? Like, I'm a content creator, so like I get it. You know what I mean? Like,
absolutely.
It is what it is.
And it really is. It is a value proposition, and it's a friction thing. The moment you make it too difficult for people, they are going to bounce off the idea, and then it's easier when it becomes easier to pirate than it is to purchase. More people will pirate. It's that simple. People following the path of least resistance. So like that's kind of like the idea, right? That's kind of how to look at it. Just got a couple more and then we're done. Volkus said he was at a protest site over the weekend, and I wondered if either of you guys had ever protested anything, as in done the marching in the streets, waving the signs, etc. Personally, no. I
don't think so.
I have not. First of all, there's not a lot of that happens here in the first place, like in Halifax specifically. There are, in more recent times, there have been a couple, but it's not that frequent that it happens here. And just being 100% transparent and honest, as a middle-class white guy, there are not a lot of protests that I need to be a part of. I am not disparaged frequently. I am not a minority group that is being fringed by any power or anything anywhere. I'm not being unnecessarily harassed by the police. I'm not, this is not driving while black situation over here for me. I'm driving while white, right? So there's very few reasons, but I'm also not somebody like. It's not that there aren't situations where I might be able to, take part in that. Like, there are middle class, agnostic of color things that could be protest, something that people could protest about, but they've never really happened here. And even for me, it would unlikely be something I'd likely participate in personally. And I'm also I'm also not somebody, especially like somebody might say, you know, the situation in Ukraine or whatnot. There have been protests and stuff in terms of getting more support to Ukraine or whatever else, or there might be also some that are protesting for less support in Ukraine, because there's the two sides of the political spectrum of funding things outside the country before we can fund things for ourselves, and then in the reverse, that there is value in funding things external to the country because it can have knock-on effects geopolitically. So there's always protests like that going on. And I respect the people that do it, because I respect those who are doing it, because even if I don't agree with them, it does take a certain type of person to stand behind their beliefs enough to go and do that thing. I respect the ability to stand behind your beliefs enough to go out in a street and do that shit. I've never personally gotten to a point where that's been a thing for me. Maybe in the future it will, but to this point, it hasn't happened personally. And like I said, I think the majority of that is for obvious reasons, where I've not personally, and in all honesty, when it comes to stuff here in Halifax, there's never been necessarily many rallies or protests that would have perhaps affected people in my circle that I've gone to. I don't know anyone of any race, of anywhere, immigrant, otherwise, that has ever participated in a protest in my life. And I have a relatively diverse group that I'm with. Even more so now, I'm married a Filipina. I've never, nobody, not once. So I've never been personally attached to it. And if I'm not, I feel like it's disingenuous for me to just show up and start protesting, especially if I'm not even remotely informed about the thing. I think it's more important that when people actually know what they're doing, know what they're protesting, and have skin in the game and are willing to stand on business, I respect it. And I like that we live in a country in which that is possible for those people to do those things 9 times out of 10. There's always instances in which things get into gray lines for police where they have to start taking measures, but that's rare here. It does happen. One that a lot of people point to was how the federal government handled the truckers when the truckers were doing their thing. And so, you know, there's always examples, but generally speaking, Canada, thankfully, is at least a country where when you have grievances, there are places to go for you to do that publicly. Like here in Halifax, it's down by a very popular spot that they do is the Commons, and then also out in front of the, what's the hotel that's in the Marriott that's in front of the train station? Down there on Lower Water. There's a park. There's a park that's there. Yeah. So it's the little park that's across from there.
I know exactly what you're talking about. Yeah.
They allow people to be there all day. They want to do their thing. That's popular. So yeah, I appreciate they're there. I respect people, like I said, for standing on business like that. But I've just never personally been in that kind of a situation that I've participated.
Yeah, I'm sort of in the same boat. I can't recall ever protesting. Maybe like during high school or something, I might have just like used as an excuse to get out of school for an afternoon and like, you know, sit on the side of the road for 5 minutes before going home playing video games. But that was very disingenuous. So, yeah, no, I haven't either. I haven't got out there. I'm the same thing. I mean, if I respect people that, you know, stand up for their beliefs, and I think as long as you're doing it in a way that is protesting and it isn't rioting and it isn't, you know, destroying people's property and creating, you know, disarray within the city because you're, you know, rightfully or wrongfully justified in your anger or your disdain. I think that there's just a humane way of protesting, and rioting is just never the answer, period. No matter how catastrophic certain things are, I just think it just creates more harm than good. Fortunately, I mean, we live in a small province, so, you know, our population's pretty small. There has been more protesting over the last several years than anything. We've had protests over, you know, like you've mentioned, wars. We've had protests during COVID with vaccinations. We've had protests with Black Lives Matter. We've had protests with you know, other groups and just things like that. And
At the end of the day, as long as people are doing it in a respectful way and nobody's being hurt or threatened or any of that sort of stuff, then I can get behind protests. People have the right to speak. I mean, it's freedom of speech. You should be able to protest and let people hear your disdain
It's
for
a way to
something
get your
or calling to get your
Yeah.
the voice heard, right? And
Yeah.
sometimes you got to be loud. Sometimes you got to,
Yep.
you know what I mean? Get a huge group of people and let them know that, hey, we're not happy or whatever the case may be, or we want more money, or unions go on strike all the time and they're on the side of the roads and they protest for certain things. But yeah, no, that's just sort of where I'm at. I don't dislike protesting. I think it's a great way to get your voice out there and multiple people's voices. Just the rioting is where I check out, and oftentimes the rioting can hurt the message more than anything because it's just not good for anybody. So I haven't done it. Will I ever do it? I don't know, maybe. But I haven't. There just hasn't been anything that has affected my life in such a way where I feel like I need to go out there and do it, or seeing other people protest about things, whether I agree with them or not. I haven't felt the desire to then take time out of my day to go and chant things with them when I have no real dog in the game, even though they may tell me I do. If I don't have that connection and I'm not passionate about something, I'm sure as shit not going to stand outside and ask cars to honk horns and scream at a parliament building or a government building about whatever. Although I'll be honest, with the way our government is, this is probably the closest thing I'll ever do, and I'll probably go to a rally when it comes here just to show my support. But outside of that, that's not really protesting. I guess in a roundabout way, it might be. But that's about as far as I'm going to go right now.
Yeah,
That's
it's one of the most common things you see too is, and what I would have concerns for personally, like I kind of mentioned, but what you'll see is that what I also don't appreciate sometimes is similar to if you're online and have a presence, even if you're small peanuts like us, tiny corner of internet fame, is that there are certain events that happen globally that people will sometimes have an expectation that you have a stance on it, and they expect you to plant your flag in a perceived side of some conflict and publicly espouse it, which is funny because on the other token, sometimes when you do feel informed and you do talk about something, frequently they'll tell you to just dance monkey dance as a content creator or entertainer, and so there's a weird contrast depending on the groups that you're talking about with this, but the most common two right now are the Israel-Palestine and then the Ukrainian war, not in terms of Russia doing what they're doing. I think it's very clear they're the aggressor and not doing anyone any favors by doing what they're doing, especially the Ukrainians. But in terms of the support for Ukraine long term from Western countries in monetarily speaking, I think is where people start to get rubs and where there's been a lot of discussion around that. But the reality is that sometimes I feel like people expect people to have a stance on something even if they don't know enough about it to have a stance about it. In the first place. And I think that some people want to hope that the people that the entertainment that they consume, that the people that provide that entertainment have of one mind with them on every topic that comes through. And the reality is sometimes the people these creators or entertain, they don't know enough, and when they do jump before they know enough, you get catastrophic results. Look at what happened.
Then there was an apology.
Justin Bieber posted that picture, and it ended up being of the other side that he was arguing for, and he ended up just eating shit because the reality was then people saw that he didn't know enough, and it was a giant backfire. So there is a there is an element to that as well. And I say that because I carry that notion into protesting. Because like I said, if I don't personally think that I know everything I could personally know, and the only way that's going to happen is if likely I or somebody that I care about deeply near me has skin in the game, and now I want to know, and I go out and find out because I have a connection to it. If I have no connection to it, do I have a problem with people that have no connections to things showing, whatever you want to call it, solidarity or whatever going on to? No, but that's because you have a vested interest in some aspect of it. But I feel like I would rather people not be disingenuous and just do it for the sake of doing. I'm not doing it for social points, right? I'm not doing it so that I can look neato.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, a lot of people do that, right? And
yes,
and I don't partake in that stuff, and I don't
fucks with that,
dude. There's a lot of things that I'm more comfortable speaking, say, to Adam or to my wife or to a family member in private than I ever am on the internet. And it's not because I am ashamed of my viewpoints or I am whatever. It's number one, sometimes I'm still learning, right? So I have questions. And sometimes when you have questions and you say it out loud, especially in such a heated environment that we're in now with so much shit going on, you're called, you're called a lot of things, right? And people are, because you are a public figure to a degree, and like Adam said, it was just a small part of the internet, but I think people almost expect you to be informed and take the position that they take, or they're going to think differently of you. And the thing is I don't think differently of my viewers because, they vote one way or they're from a different type of religion or whatever. It took me a long time. It did. But over the years, like, especially over like the last, 5 to really probably much longer than that now. I keep saying like 5, but like because COVID happened,
really
just
fucked everything up.
It just
timeline.
Timeline. I would say like since I was in my early 30s, like 30, 31.
Yeah.
I really let go of trying to get people to think the way I think or thinking differently of somebody because of their beliefs.
Mm-hmm.
When in reality, we all grow up differently. We all have different backgrounds. We all have different things that mean more to us. Now, there are just certain things that are right and wrong. And when it comes to wars and these types of things, my answer is always, I just want the wars to stop. I just want the killing to stop. This is just crazy, but I don't know enough. I'm not educated enough on the deep-seated history of certain specific things. And I don't need people in comment sections, because I'm now saying this, I don't need you to explain all of these things from your point of view in the comment section. I'm not here to debate. But and if I was, then I would just say, hey guys, I want to learn. So give me all the information you can. I don't know what's right and what's wrong. But that's not it. It's just, I would rather just, if I'm passionate enough about something, like really disliking liberal government, I have no problem saying that because it's on my heart and it's weighing heavy on me. But because somebody would tell me, like if Adam told me, hey, yo, I'm voting liberal, I'm not going to dislike Adam. I'm not going to be like, you're a fucking idiot. What the fuck? We're done, bro. If you think like it's not that serious, right? Like that's why when we bring it back to the protesting, it's like a lot of these charged subjects are just subjects that I don't want to say I'm not interested in, because, but it's like, also there's a lot of doom and gloom and a lot of noise and a lot of, I have enough to worry about in my own home, in my own, and I have to sometimes protect my own mental health. If there's so much crazy shit going on that I don't need to consume. Yes, in a perfect world, I'd love to be educated on all things and be empathetic. I am empathetic, but like to understand every nuance, it's just not in the cards for me. I don't have the mental capacity, nor do I want to dive deep into things that I prefer to just let let the world do what the world's going to do. And, you know, if I have an interest, or if I have the mental capacity to start taking in some information, then I'll do that. But, you know, I'm just not one of those guys. I just don't get into this, hoorah! Like, you know, like, rah! It's just not me. Some people are virtue signals or signalers, where they just want to be, activist Andy, and they want to be part of something, and you know, maybe their intentions are there. You know, there's nothing worse, and I've had this happen many times before, is having somebody that's white tell me what I should be upset about being black. And I'm like, you know, and it happens way more than somebody black telling me that I need to be upset about this. There's nothing worse than it. Like, I don't even want to converse. It's like, listen, I can appreciate that, like, you're, you know, you feel for certain things that happen, and you can see bad things that happen to groups of people and things like that. But I don't need you to tell me how I should feel. And oftentimes they get almost dumbfounded and look at me like I got 10 heads when I say, no. That's not actually it. I'm in control of this, and this. And what are they going to say to somebody that's black that is telling them they're wrong about a black matter that they actually don't experience? They don't really have a rebuttal. They just kind of like, you know what I mean? Like, it's a weird thing. And that's not to say I don't need white folk to not worry about my black struggle. You know what I'm saying? Listen, my mom's white. I'm half white. I have white family. You know, my son is damn near white. He's quarter black, pretty much. You know what I mean? It's just, it just gets to the point where I just got to separate myself from that shit, because I ain't got the headspace for it. I just ain't. I just don't got it.
That's a really,
you don't know who's genuine and who isn't.
No,
you know what I mean? It's like, you know, everybody's got their own motive and their own, you know, self-serving, whatever. And sometimes it comes from a very true, good, honest place, and then sometimes it comes from an attention-seeking, a virtue signal, a look at me. I mean, we've seen, anyway, I could go on and on about it. I just don't. It's just not my jam. It's just not my jam.
I've talked about this too with when times like this, where there's been a lot of heated stuff going on and people are expecting people to have stances on things and whatnot. And you touched on something that I've talked about in the past, which is what you might call like your empathy meter. There's two different types of empathy, right? There's like acknowledging that you have empathy for something, or you can be empathetic with something. And then there's like active empathy. The act of empathizing requires energy. And when, and it pulls from the same fuel source that your body requires for dealing with your own personal day-to-day personal stuff, familial stuff, extended family, friends. It all pulls from that same emotion battery. And you can't drain blood from a stone. So when people are already dealing with a lot going on and they have nothing to run on energy-wise for empathy, you can't expect people to constantly have a deeply active, empathetic role in every global tragedy just because we live in a time in which so many global tragedies are surfaced on a daily basis because of the nature of the internet and social media and the shrinking of the world in general. Whereas in 40 years ago, people would barely know about 1/10 of what was going on. Yeah. And so you can't expect people to have the battery to do that. People have to pick their battles, and most people can and should prioritize, because it's healthier for themselves and other people around them, to manage what they can individually and go out from there. What can I do to manage myself? Then if I have myself in order, I can manage my family. And when my family is in order, I can help my extended family and my friend groups, and it goes out in rings. And the more that all of those things are, and then outside of all of that, then you hit country on the other side of the world.
Yeah.
Right? It's not that people can't say it is tragic what is happening in these places, because it is objectively tragic. The loss of life is objectively tragic. But you can't expect people to be having emotional breakdowns publicly and on social media to satisfy you in what you believe they should be expressing as a form of that empathy for something happening, not even 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon from them. Like, you can't expect that shit. You've got to be able, and I always promote this, as I said, if you look at it in degrees, going outward, the closer it is to you as an individual, the more important it is. So when shit's going horribly wrong, this is a great way of looking at this politically, especially with what's going on in the US and Canada. As in US and Canada, the most power we typically have is our vote. And once the vote is cast, regardless of who wins, it's out of your hands in general. So what's the next thing that you can do? You do what you can at home with yourself. You get your shit in order, you get your home in order, you do community shit. If everyone did that as a baseline, things are already infinitely better as it is. Community is a very powerful thing, but community is only powerful when everyone has the ability to also have their own shit in order. Because if everyone's just trying to gather as a community with no fucking gas in the tank because they're also worried about 4,000 tragedies currently happening around the world at any given moment, then the effectiveness of the community for itself is completely fucking diminished. And it's why when you extend this to a national level, why there is a valid argument to a degree in which not the complete cutoff of foreign aid, but the extent to which foreign aid is provided based upon how the country itself is doing at home and how it is able to help its own citizens is an important discussion. It's not that people wouldn't want to provide foreign aid because there is value in doing that, especially when you're talking about the imperialist maneuvers of Russia. But like, if you are giving $50 billion to a foreign country, and then the question at home is, we had to cut granola bars for kids in cancer wards having chemo because we ran out of the budget. That might be a fucking problem.
Yeah, where's the line? Yeah.
And that's an example of extending your empathy beyond the circle it should before it's ready to go past it. It's just acting on a giant community basis of that of a national level. So that's how I look at it. It's how I would apply that same thing to protests and shit. Even if you have solidarity in people protesting for any of these things, that doesn't mean that I personally have the emotional bandwidth or the time for anything to go out there and actively be a part of it. But like I say, I can be like, okay, go get him.
Go get him.
Yes, you should. Absolutely.
As you should. Yeah, shit, I'll even honk for you. I'm driving by, bang, bang, bang.
Fuck
hey,
yeah,
you do
give
you.
for the business. General Lee, like I'll give you what you need. But like you have to, it is like I do strongly believe that a not insignificant amount of the excessive mental health issues we have is that people have completely drained their emotional bandwidth 24/7.
Yeah.
And it's only being powered by the strongest fucking emotions, both of which are exhaustive and can often lead to more people ending up in M's ward.
Yeah.
That's the nature of the beast. Then M just got the report from the NSHA over which benefits were being drawn upon the most by, the nurses and the breakdown and where their dues and stuff are going. Mental health days are like the fucking graph is like the full massive 8.5 by 11 piece of paper. And then there's like everything else is at like the fucking bottom. it's
and it's all negative. You go on X or Twitter or whatever you want to call it, or Facebook,
because that's what
it's
gets
just
people's attention.
Non-stop. Like it's crazy, and it's like, yes,
Yeah.
I care about all of these things. Like, it sucks that this is happening, but I cannot. I don't have the, literally what I said before. I just don't have the mental capacity to deep dive on this stuff and educate myself, and nor to be frank, nor do I want to. I have too much stuff going on in my life, and that doesn't mean that I don't appreciate what's going on, or I don't feel for people or what their movements are, and all this other stuff. Sure, go do your thing. Again, as long as you're not rioting and you're not destroying property and fucking around and doing illegal shit, even though you might be protesting against illegal shit. It is what it is. So yeah, that's my stance on it. I just I feel for people, I really do, but like Adam said, and I've said, I've only got so much mental headspace for doom and gloom. This isn't like all fun stuff that you see on social media. It's like 90% like doomsday shit. Like doomsday shit. Like the world is coming to an end.
Yeah.
Great recession's coming. Fucking everything is on fire. It's dead. The whole, like, what, we're just waiting for nuclear wars and fucking everything. Dude, I can't. Like, I'd be in a mental institution if I tried to like fucking read and go through everything. And then I gotta be a man and then go upstairs and be a dad and be the leader of the household and hold it strong together for my dependents.
Because
I can't. What
are you personally doing about any of that? What are you personally going to be able to do other than casting your vote for who you think might handle it at a federal level?
Yeah.
What else can you individually do? And then even if you could do some small thing, is like, what do you have the bandwidth for? And that's why I feel like if everyone focused on their circle going out, it solves so many fucking problems. It's crazy. And it's so much healthier for everyone, and communities get way better about it and whatnot.
Yeah.
It's
I mean, why do you think when you're on an airplane and when you're listening to the fucking little spiel they do before you take off, and in case of an evacuation, put your mask on first, then put on the mask of the person next to you. I can't do fuck all for anybody if I'm just a fucking hot, steaming pile of mess. I can't do I'd be paralyzed and fucking in just fear and anger and everything else. And it doesn't mean that I don't deep dive into certain things. And when there's a real calling to me, when there's a real like deep seated thing where I feel like it needs my attention, I'll give it my attention. Shit, if there's something on Adam's mind, I'll sit for an hour, 2-3 hours and listen to him. Right? I can afford to do that. I can't afford to listen to every single global issue that there is in the world and give it mental headspace all the time. I just can't. I'm human.
Exactly.
Yeah, I can't.
Josh asked, last question, if Trump takes over Canada, will Lag TV continue to exist? Don't worry. Jesus. Yes. We'll still be here. We'll be just 50% more American. We'll put on accents. We'll fucking wear our star-spangled underwear. It will still be happening. Don't you worry. It'll all be there. It'll be fine. And on that note, ladies and gentlemen.
And by the way, we're Canadian and we'll always be Canadian. So that ain't gonna happen.
That ain't gonna. My underwear stays Canadian.
Oh yeah.
It stays Canadian. But on that note, that's going to be it for this week of the podcast, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much. Hopefully you enjoyed yourself. We got a little extra long one to make up for the lack of last week. So now you can listen to this twice and get all you need out of it. We'll see you guys hopefully next week, by which point, whatever I'm going to be real interested to listen to this on the other side.
It wasn't
to
bad.
See what this mic is like and see what was going on.
Yeah, it's almost like it got better as time went on, and I haven't really heard much peaking. There's been a little bit, but nothing too crazy. But it is still there. So, like, yeah, you're gonna figure that out.
Fucking weird. I don't even know what to do because none of the thing in the chain is fucked. I don't even know what the fuck to start with. Start fucking, I don't know, doing the dance of my people? I don't even know what the fuck the answer to that question is. We'll figure it out. I don't even know what the dance of my people is. The dance of my people is, it's not even a dance. It's just, it could be mistaken as a seizure, if we're being honest. We'll figure that out. But hopefully it's figured out by next week. And until then, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for stopping by. Stay safe out there. Have a good one. And good luck getting a Switch 2. Our thoughts are with you. Peace.
Peace.